Chapter 8:12. When Murong-Ying heard this voice, her body immediately froze. Isn't this my father's voice? But immediately after, Murong-Ying's eyes suddenly lost focus. She suddenly stopped and looked at Li Fan again. Murong-Ying? Li Fan felt that something was wrong. Murong-Ying stretched out her hands towards Li Fan and pressed down. The cherry blossom greatsword suddenly sank a lot and fell towards Li Fan's head. The true qi in Li Fan's right hand was torn apart. He was unable to withstand the power of the greatsword and could only let the greatsword slash down. The great war god popped out from Li Fan's body. He stretched out his hands and fiercely pushed the falling greatsword. Clang! The greatsword was pushed to the side and then stabbed into the ground at the side. It set off a sword qi and rushed towards Li Fan's body. Li Fan's body was sent flying and flipped in the air before falling back to the ground. Murong-Ying chased after him and stabbed towards Li Fan's throat with her 2 fingers. These 2 fingers were definitely able to cut Li Fan's throat. Li Fan frowned. Murong-Ying was not her usual self and was now using killing moves everywhere. Her body had completely lost that familiar feeling. It was as if he was facing a stranger that he had never seen before. In the blink of an eye, the 2 fingers had already reached Li Fan's throat. In the next second, they would be able to pierce in and tear apart Li Fan's throat bone. But Li Fan was not to be trifled with. The great war god behind him had already struck out with his palm towards Murong-Ying. Murong-Ying's body was wrapped by cherry blossoms. The great war god's palm struck the cherry blossoms. With a boom, the cherry blossoms wrapped around Murong-Ying and were sent flying. And Li Fan was also spared and did not have his throat cut by Murong-Ying's sword fingers. Li Fan's attack contained the pure power of 9 dragons and was very effective. Murong-Ying crashed into the field next to her, creating a circular crater in the field. Murong-Ying, what's wrong? Li Fan looked at Murong-Ying, not knowing what had happened to her. Murong-Ying didn't say anything. She appeared in front of Li Fan in a flash and attacked Li Fan continuously with cherry blossom sword energy. As the current leader of the martial arts world, her martial arts were not to be trifled with. Most martial fighters would not dare to face this attack head-on, but Li Fan dared. As he stood there, the god of war on his back waved his palms and executed a set of palm techniques with great vigor. He was actually on par with Murong-Ying. Although Murong-Ying was powerful, it seemed that she couldn't do anything to Li Fan for a while. At this moment, Murong-Ying suddenly showed an opening. Li Fan subconsciously let the god of war's palm touch her. If the god of war's palm landed 1 centimeter more, Murong-Ying's head would be minced into meat paste. Murong-Ying stood there and didn't seem to have any intention of dodging. Li Fan forcefully retracted his palm. True qi flowed in reverse and his internal organs were injured, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Murong-Ying stepped forward and poked Li Fan's heart with 2 fingers. Puff! Red blood blossomed from Li Fan's back. This sword finger had the power to pierce through the heart. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were shocked. Li Fan slowly knelt on the ground and covered his heart. Murong-Ying took a few steps back. She seemed to have regained her senses. She looked at Li Fan, who was kneeling in front of her, and then looked at her bloody fingers. What is going on? Murong-Ying couldn't believe her eyes. At this moment, 2 iron guards wearing iron masks appeared out of nowhere. The 2 of them walked toward the van and were ready to snatch the goods. At that moment, a lot of people suddenly appeared and surrounded the container car. Murong-Ying furrowed her brows and looked at the uninvited guests. 3 foreigners in silver uniforms stood there, each of them wearing custom-made black sunglasses. The 3 of them were from America's Team A. All of them were soldiers with superpowers trained by the government. Everyone in Team A was named after playing cards. The captain's chest had the A of Spades logo. The 2 members were J of Spades and K of Spades respectively. From behind the bushes, 5 knights in gorgeous armor slowly walked out. Each of them was riding a similarly armored warhorse. The man in the lead was wearing a golden armor, while the 4 behind him were wearing silver armor to distinguish their ranks. These people were Knights of the Round Table from England. Their goal was also to snatch the X. That wasn't the end. From the other side of the road, 4 strong men wearing ancient Roman armor walked over. They wore helmets with red caltrops on their heads. Their upper bodies were bare, and they only wore a pair of black underpants with a cape hanging behind them. Each of them carried a sharp spear in their right hand and a sturdy round shield in their left hand. Their bodies were filled with a thick murderous aura, like wild beasts. Roman warriors from Greece. A few ninjas in red ninja clothes were also hiding in the trees beside them. They were different from the ninjas from before. These ninjas didn't have any aura, but their eyes were like those of wild beasts. These ninjas were meticulously trained by Japan's Beast Ninja Army. They were first-class assassination experts. 3 soldiers from Germany also came out of an SUV next to them and walked over step by step. As they walked, the metal boxes on their backs suddenly popped open. Then, they turned into pieces of metal armor and wore it on their bodies. In a short while, the 3 of them were armed up to their butts. They were like futuristic robot warriors. Germany's tank army, a monster army built with high technology. 6 elite warriors from different countries gathered here. They all had one goal, and that was to snatch the X. The bodyguard Li Fan was killed. What followed was a brutal fight for the X. They didn't dare to delay. One by one, they walked out of their hiding places and prepared to fight for the target. Murongying wanted to drive them away, but she felt a wave of weakness in her body. She didn't know why, but she seemed to have lost consciousness. When she woke up, she accidentally killed Li Fan. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Now that so many outsiders had come, she felt like her body had been hollowed out. She couldn't muster up any strength. One of the Iron Guards finally opened his mouth and scolded. "This is our China's territory. What are you guys trying to do? I'm sorry. X is an important international resource. We can't let you China monopolize it." Team A of Spades from America stood there and said, "This kind of dangerous resource must be handed over to us America to deal with. I announce that from now on, our America's Team A will take over X. You guys even came to our China's territory to snatch something. You Americans are too much." The Iron Guard scolded. "Privately possessing X is against international law. After we take over X, your China will have to face international arbitration." Chapter 8:13. What a joke. The Iron Guard coldly snorted, "My China is a great country. Since when is it your turn to talk nonsense? Get lost." The 2 of them wanted to move forward, but 4 Roman soldiers with spears and shields blocked their way. "You want to stop us?" The Iron Guard laughed, "Just by relying on you demons and monsters." With that, the 2 of them shot out their black palms. The 4 Roman soldiers formed a group and combined their shields to block the 2's black palms. Bang! The shields lit up with a black light, and the 2 Iron Guards took a step back. The 2 Iron Guards were obviously shocked. Their black palms were invincible, but they couldn't even shake the shields of these barbarians. How was this possible? At this moment, the 5 knights of the Round Table suddenly rushed towards them. The 5 knight spears carried the power of a charge as they pierced towards the 2 Iron Guard. The 2 Iron Guards wanted to dodge, but Team A's Spade J activated his ability and glanced at the 2 of them. The bodies of the 2 Iron Guards froze like 2 statues. This was Spade J's ability, Petrifying Gaze. Anyone who was seen by him could be frozen for 2 seconds according to his will. 2 seconds might not be long, but it was enough for them. The 5 long spears stabbed into their bodies, and the 2 of them were sent flying. These 5 knights of the Round Table were not just for show. Even if they had practiced the Iron Shirt for decades, their defense was still torn apart by the long spears. The Iron Guard who had been talking was sent flying by 4 silver spears. The other Iron Guard was in a miserable state. The Golden Knight's spear pierced through his chest and hung on the spear. The surviving Iron Guard was shocked. These Knights of the Round Table actually tore apart their Iron Shirt? Murongying stood at the side, her brows tightly knitted. Sure enough, it was impossible to look down on the heroes of the world. There was always someone better than you out there. The remaining Iron Guard took a deep breath and used the power of his black palms. The surrounding air fluctuated, and he seemed to be preparing for a big move. "YA, send it to me. 4 beast ninjas suddenly appeared out of thin air. Each of them had a hook in their hands and hooked onto Tetsuya's body. The 4 of them locked him up. 4 chains bound Metal Guard's body, making him unable to move again. At the same time, 3 soldiers from the German tank rushed over. Their shoulders exploded with energy, increasing the power of their fists. From 3 directions, they struck the body of the Iron Guard. Pu. Iron Guard spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were bloodshot. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all destroyed. The strength of the 3 German tanks was truly heaven-defying. Steel Guard slowly knelt on the ground, blood flowing from his 7 apertures. He had been killed instantly. Yang Kai, keep an eye on this place. I'm going out for a walk. Guan Wenbao picked up his crescent blade and jumped out of the carriage on his warhorse, Lisa. When the 5 knights of the Round Table saw Guan Wenbao, they immediately turned their horses around and charged towards him. Just in time, Guan Wenbao laughed. He dragged his crescent blade and charged towards the 5 knights of the Round Table. Lisa's hooves kicked up dust. She stepped on a wisp of green smoke and appeared in front of the knights of the Round Table in an instant. Guan Wenbao waved his crescent blade and exchanged 2 blows with the golden-armored knight. The armor on the shoulder of the golden-armored knight was shattered by Guan Wenbao's blade, and a scratch appeared on Guan Wenbao's calf. Blood splattered on the ground. Guan Wenbao continued to charge forward. The 4 knights of the silver-armored knight were quickly cut down by his blade. The 2 soldiers turned their horses around and continued to look at each other. Guan Wenbao once again dragged his crescent blade, while the golden-armored knight once again propped up his lance. The 2 of them whipped their horses again, ready for another wave of attacks. At this time, Spade Jay's ability recovered. He glanced at Guan Wenbao. Even Guan Wenbao and his horse were frozen in place, unable to move. The golden-armored knight didn't have the slightest bit of chivalry. He raised his lance and stabbed towards Guan Wenbao. Trash. Yang Kai stood up and reached out his hand to pull the golden-armored knight. Tai Chi Divine Art activated. The golden-armored knight's body was pulled down from his horse and fell to the ground. The 4 beast ninjas jumped over. Each of them threw their hooks and hooked them onto the body of the golden-armored knight. The 4 of them pulled in 4 different directions, and the golden-armored knight's body was directly dismembered. This was a battlefield. There were no so-called allies. Once they exposed their weaknesses, they would be mercilessly slaughtered by the others. The 3 German chariots turned around and walked towards Yang Kai. At the same time, the 4 Roman soldiers were about to throw their lances at the defenseless Murong Ying, but at this time, Li Fan, who had been kneeling on the ground, suddenly raised his head. He shouted, and a golden light suddenly fell from the sky. The world seemed to be shaken by this golden light, and the ground suddenly trembled. Murong Ying, clad in golden flying lion armor, stood there with an insufferably powerful aura. She threw the flying lion shield in her hand. The shield spun in the air, and with a clank, the 4 flying lances were deflected in midair. The flying lion shield spun in the air and fell back into her hand. Looking at the golden-armored version of herself, Murong Ying was a little stunned. Is this the version of me that Li Fan mentioned, the good guy card? Looking at her appearance, she is almost no different from me. This is really magical, really unbelievable. As for this flying lion version of Murong Ying, she does not know any martial arts, but she has powerful strength and defense. After picking up her shield, flying lion Murong Ying took a step forward. The golden sword in her right hand directly slashed down on a Roman soldier's shield. The Roman soldier's shield immediately cracked, and even his body was cut in half by flying lion Murong Ying. The rest of the Roman soldiers were shocked. Their shields were made of a special metal, but it was broken by a sword. On the other hand, flying lion Murong Ying continued to swing her great sword and instantly cut down 2 Roman warriors. Only 1 Roman soldier was left, but he did not retreat. Instead, he roared at flying lion Murong Ying, threw away his lance, and pulled out a broadsword from his waist. Then, he rushed towards flying lion Murong Ying. Flying lion Murong Ying also raised her shield and prepared to fight. But at this moment, an ice thorn rose from the ground and directly pierced the Roman soldier's body, nailing him to the ground. King of Spades slowly retracted his right hand that was emitting cold air. In the blink of an eye, the British Knights of the Round Table and the Greek and Roman soldiers were all killed. Chapter 8:14. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. At this moment, the meaning of this sentence was truly reflected. The people from the other countries did not dare to make any moves, lest they reveal any flaws and become the reason for their own deaths. They did not want to die, nor did they want to withdraw from this battle. This battle had just begun. Li Fan was kneeling there, while Guan Wenbao was riding a warhorse, guarding beside Li Fan. Although his heart had been hit by Murong Ying's finger sword, a powerful true qi instantly filled his body, protecting Li Fan's heart at the critical moment, saving his life. The true qi in his body and the abnormality bone changing worked together to repair Li Fan's injuries. He also ate a rejuvenation pill made by Luo Xiaofeng. Luo Xiaofeng was the treasure of Feifen, and his pills had a strong effect on the agency. This was the same as going out to fight monsters. You had to bring red and blue pills with you. After Li Fan swallowed the rejuvenation pill, he threw a rejuvenation pill to Murong Ying. Murong Ying stood by the side, and the other flying lion version of her guarded the left and right, not allowing outsiders to get close. Murong Ying took the rejuvenation pill and ate it without hesitation. She was very clear about the effects of this medicine. Back then, Luo Xiaofeng was a talent that Murong Ying had poached. Without her, there would not be these two kinds of tonics. The rejuvenation pill was used to heal the body, while the rejuvenation pill was used to restore the true qi in the body. After taking the rejuvenation pill, Murong Ying felt much better. The feeling of exhaustion and emptiness just now had also disappeared. At this moment, the situation was a little tense. The boxcar was parked to the side, guarded by Yang Kai. And Li Fan was in the middle of the road, protected by Guan Wenbao. The remaining leader of China's martial arts world, Murong Ying, was also guarded by another powerful He. Spades was a little unhappy. They clearly had more people on their side, but why couldn't they do anything to these Chinese people? With their efforts, they managed to seal off the area, but it wouldn't last for too long. He had to end the battle quickly. The X was right in front of him, in that van. However, it was difficult to make a choice now. Should he attack the van directly, or should he kill this Huaxia escort first? Spade quickly came to the conclusion that it was better to get rid of the escort first. He had to kill him, or else he wouldn't be able to get close to the van. The Ace of Spades gave a look to the people next to him. They had a tacit understanding. Spade J immediately glanced at Guan Wenbao. Old Guan was holding onto the crescent moon knife and couldn't move again. At this moment, the four beast ninjas noticed Li Fan's weakness. They immediately pounced on him and swung their sharp chains at him. However, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and swung it. Four hooks immediately flew out and hooked onto a nearby tree. An icicle suddenly rose from the ground, trying to pin Li Fan to the ground. But Li Fan slapped the ground with his palm. The power of the Chilean palm was earth-shattering. The icicle was shattered by his palm, leaving only a pile of ice shards. How dare a small barbarian act so presumptuously in my country? Li Fan sneered and slowly stood up. One rejuvenation pill had helped him recover quite a bit. When he stood up, the god of war behind him also popped out. Looking at the golden god of war, Spade didn't know why, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. What is this? As Li Fan's strength increased, the appearance of the god of war became clearer. He looked very much like Li Fan, wearing a golden armor. The golden armor also seemed to have a shape. There seemed to be a Chilean on it. The four beast ninjas thought they had an opportunity. They suddenly appeared behind Li Fan, ready to launch a sneak attack. But the god of war suddenly turned around and pulled out two huge black swords from thin air. He swung them horizontally. Fart! The four beast ninjas didn't even have time to release their substitutes and were instantly killed by Li Fan's god of war. The god of war's sword had a beast ninja's corpse stuck in it. He swung the sword, and the corpse was sent flying towards the German tank. One of the German tank's hands separated and immediately tore the beast ninja in half. The beast ninjas didn't even have time to use their trump cards before they were all destroyed. and Li Fan's body suddenly stopped. Spade J used his telekinesis to lock him down. But he could lock down Li Fan, but he couldn't lock down the God of War. The God of War put away his sword and slapped at Spade J through the air. Spade A finally moved. He used both hands to create a purple crystal shield in front of him. Bang! The crystal shield shook, but it protected them. Chimph Li Fan snorted. The God of War above his head suddenly rose 3 feet, becoming 10 meters tall. Then, with a Qilin palm, it directly imprinted on the crystal shield. Bang! The crystal shield directly broke. Spade J and Spade K were directly killed by Li Fan's Qilin palm. One of them turned into ice and shattered on the ground. The other burned and turned into charcoal in the blink of an eye. Spade A was the only one who survived. He was wearing a crystal armor. He flipped twice in the air and fell into the pit next to him. The 3 German tanks saw this and prepared to finish him off. The 3 of them jumped into the pit and prepared to kill Spade A. However, 3 crystal pillars suddenly fell from the sky and smashed into the bodies of the 3 German tanks, instantly turning them into meat paste. Spade A slowly stood up from the pit. He was wearing a purple crystal armor, and his eyes were filled with anger. "You stupid Chinese people, how dare you resist the punishment of our American empire?" Spade A's voice was filled with anger. Li Fan retorted sarcastically. "Fuck your punishment. Do I need you to punish me? You dare to cause trouble in Chinese territory? Die." Li Fan used a huge God of War and consumed a lot of true qi. Using the God of War to release the Qilin palm was not something that could be done casually. But he put away the God of War and took out his extraordinary sword. The black extraordinary sword spun above Li Fan's head like a spirit that came to life. Spade A also activated his ability and released 3 crystal pillars that fell from the sky. The extraordinary sword above Li Fan's head released 9 sword shadows. They flew up and tore the 3 crystal pillars apart. Spade A waved his hand again and another 3 crystal pillars smashed towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not move at all. Another 9 sword shadows flew up and shattered the crystal pillars again. Li Fan observed that this guy could only release 3 crystal pillars at a time. He could not release more. "Your death is coming. Accept the punishment of our great American empire," Spade A roared. He raised his hands high and threw the crystal pillars again and again. Li Fan's body had not fully recovered and it was inconvenient for him to move. He could only fight against Spade A. But he had already thought of a way to deal with Spade A. Chapter 8:15. Using the crystal pillar was Spade A's only means of attack. For martial artists, such a simple method of attack was too easy to see through. Li Fan crushed the falling crystal pillar while looking at Spade A's body. His eyes emitted a golden light, which was the effect of filling his eyes with true qi. In his eyes, Spade A's aura was very obvious. He was covered in purple light, a bit like a gay man. And every time Spade A used the crystal pillar, his aura would dim a lot. That's it. Spade A raised his hands again, and he tried to make more crystal pillars fall. But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly reached out and pointed at Spade A. A sword shadow immediately shot out and pierced Spade A's chest in the blink of an eye, flying out the other side with blood and minced flesh. Killed in one move. Spade A looked at Li Fan in shock. He couldn't believe that he, an elite of Team A, would die here today, and in this way, all the invading enemies were cleared. Li Fan clutched his chest, where the injury was almost healed. And Murong Ying was still standing opposite, looking at him. "Do you still want to fight?" Li Fan looked at Murong Ying and asked. "I don't want to fight anymore." Murong Ying had no intention to fight. Her strength had not recovered, and Murong Ying had to investigate the matter of being controlled just now. "But the next time we meet, it will still be a battle of life and death. Be prepared." After Murong Ying finished speaking, she bounced her feet and left with Qinggong. Although Murong Ying's Qinggong was not particularly good, it was still very powerful. She jumped, and in the blink of an eye, she left the place. Li Fan did not chase. The flying lion version of Murong Ying was also slowly disappearing, turning into a sky full of golden light. Guan Wenbao wanted to help Li Fan, but was pushed away by Li Fan. "I'm not that weak. Get in the car, we haven't finished the journey yet." Although they were only bait, they had to put on a good show. The group returned to the van. Although the road was damaged, Li Fan believed that it wouldn't take long for the government to come and clean up the mess. "Shin, you've worked hard." As Liu Bing spoke, he looked at Li Fan's bare upper body and the shocking wound on his chest. Although it was almost healed, there were still scars. Zhong Guang's attitude also changed, and he began to feel deep veneration. He had always thought that wuxia was just nonsense, but today he realized that this was a truly cruel and terrifying world. Li Fan single-handedly fought against the heroes of the various countries. This strength and boldness were worthy of admiration. "They probably won't dare to come after this, right?" Liu Bing asked. "No." Li Fan shook his head. "What we just destroyed was just a vanguard of theirs. My guess is that their real interception should be here." As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hand and drew on the map in front of him. The place they were going to was Spanish Fish Circle, but on a section of the national highway in Spanish Fish Circle, there was a very large uninhabited area. Since X was so important to the various countries, they wouldn't just send such a small force. The battle just now was just their vanguard? Liu Bing was a little shocked. What exactly were they escorting? Why would other people fight for it so crazily? Each country had their own elite troops, and their battle strength was extremely strong. The previous wave had already caused them to be badly battered, and Li Fan was also badly injured. Although Li Fan was powerful, it was difficult for him to fight against so many people. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai still had to protect the escort vehicle, so the three of them couldn't fully display their battle strength. At this moment, Zhong Guang was deeply ashamed. He felt that everything he had learned was useless. Right now, he couldn't use it at all, and could only watch the show. "Don't worry, there was just an accident." Li Fan said, "Next time, I will eat as many as they come. Don't worry, my appetite is very big." With that, Li Fan consumed another rejuvenation pill and slowly closed his eyes. The rejuvenation pill could recover his body, and the rejuvenation pill could adjust his qi. Later on, there would be a huge battle, and he needed to recover his strength. Li Fan looked at his nose, and his nose looked at his heart, and entered a deep state of cultivation. Murong Ying, who was wearing the flying lion golden armor, suddenly appeared and sat beside Li Fan. Every time Li Fan entered a deep state of cultivation, she would automatically appear and protect Li Fan. Li Fan had already entered a deep state of consciousness, and his world was still black and white. On the white side, the Golden Dragon Divine General stood there, holding a black extraordinary sword with both hands. On the black side, the 7 demon kings sat there quietly, and their hands were like the claws of a Chileen, as if they wanted to tear everything apart. The 8th star lit up with a bit of light. Li Fan's strength was already approaching the 8th level, but it didn't mean that he could break through. It took him half a year to break through the 7th level. The 8th level was out of reach. Li Fan believed that as long as he could enter the 8th level, he could truly step into the realm of a generation's grandmaster. There was still a 9th level of the 7 Heroes Force, but Li Fan didn't know what he could achieve in the 9th level. Moreover, the 8th level was still far away, not to mention the distant 9th level. Cultivation indeed had to be done step by step, and he couldn't be too impatient. The more impatient he was, the more restless the 7 demon kings in the black world next door would be. He couldn't give him the chance to replace him. Li Fan was quietly cultivating his qi. 5 wisps of white smoke came out of the top of his head and floated out of the car window. The flying lion Murong Ying was still sitting there quietly, guarding its master. The car continued to move, and there was still some time before they reached their destination. The previous battle had also taken up a lot of time. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were also taking the opportunity to adjust their qi. When they came out this time, they had brought a lot of rejuvenation pills and rejuvenation pills. With the help of powerful potions, they would have a strong output and endurance. They're already close to the death zone. Not far away, a man in a leather jacket was riding a motorcycle, following behind the van. He turned on the walkie-talkie and reported to Ju Tai. The vanguard has been taken care of by Li Fan, but the main force should arrive soon. He continued to report. At this time, the motorcyclist he had left behind seemed to wake up. The man in the jacket waved his hand and slapped him, causing him to faint again. I'll continue to follow them and report to you at any time, the man in the jacket said as he continued to ride the Harley-Davidson motorcycle, slowly following behind the van. Very soon, they arrived at the no man's land. No man's land didn't mean that no one passed through here. It was because this was a route blocked by the military, so only people with a pass could pass through here. Liu Bing and Zhong Guang were nervous. They knew that danger could come at any time. Chapter 8:16. About 20 years ago, a nuclear test had been conducted in this uninhabited area, causing the area to be barren and barren. Therefore, the government sealed off this area to prevent people from being exposed to radiation. 20 years had already passed. Some tenacious grass had once again grown here, covering the entire area. The van drove in this no man's land. This was the fastest route to the Bayfish Circle Pier. Moreover, the security outside the no man's land could help them block off some monsters. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Liu Bing's hand that was smoking was trembling slightly. Don't jinx it. Although Zhong Guang reprimanded him, he also had a bad feeling. Li Fan still had his eyes closed, as if he could not hear anything outside. They had already reached this place, and he still did not wake up? According to what he said, this place should be a very scary place. We have already beaten back a wave. They have also seen our combat power. Liu Bing was still optimistic. I guess they will not dare to come again. I hope so. Zhong Guang could only hope for the best. As for the result, no one knew until they reached Bayfish Circle. They had already driven halfway through the no man's land. The grass on the ground was blowing, and there were deer running by the roadside. Everything looked so harmonious. This kind of pure nature made Liu Bing not have the heart to throw the cigarette butt outside. Everything seemed so comfortable and carefree. Besides the sound of the van, there was no other sound. It was so quiet that it made their ears hurt. Liu Bing took out his phone and took 2 pictures. This place is very good. Let's go back and let my daughter have a look. This place is not bad, but it is not suitable for humans to live in. Zhong Guang remembered that this was a radiation zone. It has been more than 20 years. The radiation is long gone. The effects of nuclear radiation are very long-lasting. Zhong Guang reminded Liu Bing, how did you learn your national defense class? We are now taking the risk to walk this road. I hope there will not be any effects when we go back. Don't worry. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. Yang Kai has used his true energy to seal this van. The radiation cannot enter here. Ah, really? Liu Bing was a little surprised. This true qi is so powerful that it can even block radiation. To put it bluntly, radiation is just a type of energy. Li Fan poured his true qi into his eyes, and a golden electric light flowed out of his eyes. In his eyes, this area was indeed nurturing different powers. A kind of green energy spread over it, but it was blocked by the true qi on the exterior of the car. Why are you awake? Are you almost recovered? Zhong Guang respectfully asked. You're recovering well. However, I woke up not because I've recovered, but because a guest has arrived. As Li Fan spoke, he pointed to the sky. In the sky, a plane flew past. It was unknown which airport it came from. Suddenly, a notification came from Liu Bing's earphone. A stealth fighter took off from the sea nearby and has entered the no man's land. Liu Bing became nervous. The fire control radar has already locked onto it. As he spoke, a few missiles flew over from the sky, spraying blue flames as they chased after the plane. However, the plane projected a huge fighter mech. With a thump, it landed heavily on the no man's land. This fighter mech was like a huge fighting robot, painted with camouflage colors. It raised its head, and its eyes lit up as it scanned the car. Then, the fighter mech sprayed blue light as it quickly chased after the car. Fuck. The driver couldn't help but curse, and then stepped on the gas pedal to the ground. The entire car went wild. It suddenly leaped out and rushed out. A 10 meters tall fighter mech chased after it crazily. The car had already reached 150 miles per hour, but it still couldn't shake off the mech chasing after it. It was unknown which country this fighter mech was developed by. It was a high-performance mech that chased after the car without stopping. At the same time, a row of missiles ejected from its shoulder and flew towards the car. A total of 12 small missiles were extremely fast as they chased after the car. Li Fan snorted coldly. He asked the driver to open the car's sunroof. He stood in the car and slightly bent his legs. The muscles on his calves were tense like a tightened bar. Bang! Li Fan was ejected from the car like a cannonball. The van shuddered and almost bounced off the ground. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already arrived in front of the mech. The extraordinary sword chased after his figure. 12 sword shadows separated and chased after the small missiles, clearing them all. Boom, boom, boom. The missiles exploded in the air one after another. Li Fan passed through the flames and landed on top of the mecha's head. The mech immediately began to charge, as if it wanted to electrocute Li Fan. However, Li Fan absorbed the electricity. Then, he turned over and kicked the mech. Rushing thunder kick. The electricity was completely returned to the mech. The mech took 2 steps back and electricity exploded in front of its chest. Clearly, it had suffered a big move. Li Fan felt the surrounding energy. He stepped on the cloud ladder twice and jumped up another 3 meters. At the same time, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and a powerful black hole suddenly appeared in his palm. The surrounding radiation energy was attracted by this power and was directly attracted by Li Fan's power. All the radiation energy continuously flowed into Li Fan's right hand and gathered on his right palm. Li Fan's arm was now rather special. It was filled with radiation energy, but it did not affect him. He stepped on the cloud ladder a few more times and directly jumped over 100 meters into the air, hanging upside down. Dragon King Seal. Li Fan directly hit the mech that had turned into a small toy. Boom. The ground suddenly caved in and a huge palm print appeared. A mushroom cloud rose up and shot straight into the sky. As for the mech, it was deeply imprinted into the ground. At the same time, because of the radiation, the mech instantly turned into flying ash and disappeared in the blink of an eye. There was still a large amount of radiation energy left in the crater. The energy that was originally dispersed had been condensed again and remained in the crater. Looking at the huge crater, Liu Bing and Zhong Guang looked at each other in fear. This was a nuclear explosion. A human could actually produce the energy of a nuclear explosion. How was this possible? They could not believe their eyes. Li Fan once again landed on the ground. He wrapped his body with true qi. The nuclear energy did not dare to corrode his body and avoided it. Li Fan's palm was shocking. Some of the enemies hiding in the dark were stunned. Chapter 8:17. Li Fan stood on the ground, exuding an aura that could not be looked at directly. Just by standing there, he was a godlike figure. Oh my God, this is simply. In the distance, the man in the jacket held a pair of binoculars in his hand and looked over. He could not help but feel shocked. Unbelievable. For a human to be able to produce the power of a nuclear explosion, this was indeed beyond his common sense. The man in the jacket put away his binoculars and was stunned for a long time, as if he had forgotten about the question coming from his earpiece. Number 0, tell me quickly, what happened? Ju Tai continued to press him. Answer me quickly, what happened to the enemy's mecha? Was X stolen? Ju Tai was indeed a little anxious. This mecha was the latest technology and had powerful weapons. Moreover, this mecha was powered by a brand new nuclear energy. One mecha could last for a week. It had a powerful alloy armor and nuclear weapons. This mecha could fight against an armored division. The cost of building this mecha would cost more than $10 billion. Ju Tai did not expect the United States to use such a thing this time. This was even more expensive than burning an aircraft carrier. The mecha was destroyed by Li Fan. The man in the jacket reacted after a long time and said slowly. He was beaten to a pulp. What did Li Fan use to destroy it? With his palm, Ju Tai was stunned for a moment and then said, "Stop messing around." "I'm not messing around. It's really..." The man in the jacket did not know how to explain. This matter was too unreal. Li Fan's palm produced the effect of a nuclear explosion, so the mecha was destroyed. Fuck, Ju Tai was speechless for a long time before he finally said this. At this time, Li Fan tidied up his clothes and then walked towards the van parked at the side. However, when Li Fan returned, Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were lying in the van, as if they had been drugged, lying there motionless. Liu Bing and Zhong Guang had also fainted, obviously drugged. Li Fan looked at the goods again. X had been stolen. He immediately turned his head and released his palm in a certain direction. Bang! A shockwave exploded, and the air there seemed to be torn apart. A few werewolf-like monsters with fur all over their bodies fell out. Li Fan looked at their clothes and found that they had attributes on them. They seemed to be beast ninjas. These beast ninjas were the 4 people from before, but they were clearly killed. It seemed that they hadn't died, but had used some sort of camouflage technique to hide until now. They had almost been killed in the end. After transforming into wolves, the beast ninjas' attack and speed increased by quite a bit. One of them was protecting the metal can used to transport the X, while the other 3 directly pounced on Li Fan. Using their sharp claws as weapons, they launched a series of quick attacks on Li Fan. The speed of the 3 werewolf ninjas was so fast that even the air was torn apart. But Li Fan just stood there and used his left hand to deflect the attacks of the 3 werewolf ninjas with the crane hand kung fu. "How dare a bunch of rascals steal from under my nose?" As Li Fan spoke, he swung his hand and threw out his extraordinary sword. The extraordinary sword flew into the sky and spun in the air. God-slaying. Li Fan pointed with his finger, and a black lightning bolt immediately shot down and struck one of the beast ninjas. The beast ninja was instantly turned into charcoal. He used his ultimate move, he is at his weakest. One of the beast ninjas shouted, and the remaining 2 beast ninjas seemed to have gone berserk and attacked Li Fan crazily. Li Fan pointed at the beast ninja on the right. Second strike. Another black lightning bolt struck down and turned the second beast ninja into ashes. Third strike. Li Fan attacked again, and the black lightning struck down. The third beast ninja's body disappeared completely in the twisting lightning. Impossible. The remaining beast ninja stood beside the metal can and stared blankly at Li Fan, who was slowly descending from the sky. "Are you ready to die?" Li Fan stretched out his right hand towards the beast ninja. The beast ninja had been through cruel training, and they were never afraid of death. But at this moment, he was afraid. The beast ninja turned around and ran, but Li Fan pressed down with his right hand. Bang! The beast ninja knelt down, and his knees crushed the ground. "Your strength is not bad, but you have messed with the wrong person," Li Fan said and closed his palm, and the beast ninja's head was instantly crushed by Li Fan. Li Fan already has the strength of 9 dragons, and he is close to the level of a grandmaster. Without a suitable expert, it would be difficult to defend against Li Fan's attack. Although these beast ninjas had the genes of wolves, they were still a distance away from Li Fan. "Wake up." Li Fan waved his hand, and True Qi forced the poison out of Guan Wenbao and the rest, and they slowly woke up. Slap. Guan Wenbao slapped himself and knelt in front of Li Fan. This Guan was careless, and failed miserably. "I have let down my benefactor." Li Fan waved his hand, and True Qi lifted Guan Wenbao up. "Don't mess around. Is there a need to be like this with our relationship? But this Guan is indeed incompetent, this is not your fault. These fellows' abilities are indeed strange." Li Fan comforted Guan Wenbao. "They specialize in evil ways, and it is naturally difficult to defend against them. Next time, he would just have to be more careful. If anything happens to you, it will be a great loss to me. But, all right." Li Fan patted his shoulder. "Take this as a lesson, and you will not suffer like this again in the future. If there is a next time, I will bring my head to see you." Guan Wenbao was very traditional, and his face was full of shame and self-blame. All right, Yang Kai, if you have nothing better to do, try to persuade him. With his temper, who can persuade him?" Yang Kai curled his lips, and he was also somewhat unhappy. He was actually tricked by a few Japanese. For the arrogant Yang Kai, this was simply an insult to his dignity. He was extremely unhappy. If Li Fan had not already killed those fellows, he would have punched them a few more times. It's good that the thing is still here. Liu Bing saw that the metal can was still there, and he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Zhong Guang, on the other hand, was still very cautious. He was holding a pair of binoculars, observing the surrounding situation. Within a radius of 100 meters, there was no sign of human habitation, as if all the enemies had been eliminated. This could be considered as having passed this round. But at this moment, a figure suddenly fell from the sky, and directly stepped on the container car. This container car directly collapsed into scrap metal, and before the driver had time to get off, he was already minced meat. Chapter 8:18. Li Fan immediately frowns as killing intent flashes across his eyes. Who is this person? The person in front of him descends from the sky. He is wearing metal armor and seems to be a member of the Storm Mercenary Group. This person has golden hair, and indeed the Storm Mercenary Group logo is printed on his chest. He is carrying a huge warhammer in one hand and a shield as tall as a person in the other. He coldly looks at Li Fan. Little tyrant, I am here to kill you. As he speaks, his gaze falls on the metal can. Since you are here, don't even think of leaving. Li Fan's anger is already burning. This uninvited guest actually dares to kill his people. He, I am a super soldier who has consumed the new generation angel. The golden-haired man says proudly, just you alone is not my opponent. Fuck, leave this idiot to me, leave it to me. Yang Kai and Guan Wenbao are unable to take it anymore. The two of them jump over. Guan Wenbao slashes out with his crescent blade, bringing with it flames. However, the golden-haired man only raises his shield. It is unknown what material this shield is made of, but it is abnormally sturdy. The golden-haired man blocks Guan Wenbao's attack. At the same time, he swings his huge warhammer and smashes it towards Guan Wenbao. Yang Kai immediately stretches out his hands and releases his Taiji power in an attempt to block the golden-haired man's warhammer. However, the warhammer erupts with flames. The entire warhammer suddenly accelerates and instantly breaks through Yang Kai's Taiji power and smashes towards Guan Wenbao's head. Guan Wenbao is smashed to the ground by the warhammer while Yang Kai is also sent flying by the golden-haired man's shield. Two powerful battle generals had been defeated just like that. Liu Bing and Zhong Guang are somewhat shocked. They have personally witnessed the strength of these two warlords. Previously, when they fought against the elites of so many countries, the two of them were not at a disadvantage. Yet, they were defeated in a single move. Only Li Fan knows that the two of them were drugged and their bodies are still a little weak. Otherwise, they would not be defeated so easily. Fafen Escort Agency, trash. The golden-haired man was even more disdainful. He raised his war hammer, which burst into flames again. He was ready to deal another blow to Yang Kai and Guan Wenbao. But at this time, Li Fan stretched out his hands and activated his true qi, pulling his two capable subordinates back from a distance. The golden-haired man's war hammer fell to the ground, creating a huge crater. Although Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were a little weak, it could be seen that the golden-haired man was very strong. He didn't know what the hell the new generation of angel potion was. Coupled with this set of human skeleton armor, the golden-haired man's combat power had indeed soared to a superhuman state. The warhammer in his hand began to transform and soon turned into a special long-barreled hunting rifle. He held it in his hand and aimed it at Li Fan. Bang! The golden-haired man opened fire, and Li Fan's figure was directly smashed into pieces. The golden-haired man laughed. Trash, a bunch of trash. This kind of trash actually needs me, the Archangel, to personally deal with it. What a joke. The golden-haired man said his title. Archangel, what a Chunibya name. A mocking voice came from behind. The Archangel was shocked. He turned his head and found that Li Fan was standing behind him unscathed. And Li Fan's palm was aimed at him. Although the Archangel was a little surprised, he quickly calmed down. His shield was made of super-dense cold steel. It could even block a missile. It was just a palm. What was there to be afraid of? A mere martial artist was just some people who were sensationalist. The Archangel raised his shield and allowed Li Fan's palm to hit it. He didn't care about Li Fan's strength at all. Bang! But there was a heavy sound. Li Fan's palm directly left a palm print on the shield, and the Archangel took a step back in a sorry state, leaving a footprint on the ground with one foot. What kind of power is this? The Archangel felt that his left hand holding the shield was a little numb. The shield seemed to fall from his hand at any time. As for Li Fan, he followed up and once again sent a palm at the Archangel. The Archangel felt that there might have been an accident just now. He raised his super-dense cold steel shield again and prepared to use the shield to shatter this Chinese man's weak wrist. Dang! It was like a monk striking a bell. The cold steel shield let out a heavy sound and an even deeper palm print appeared on it. Impossible! The Archangel couldn't believe his eyes. His cold steel shield had been heavily injured again. Li Fan's third palm came. The Archangel put down his war hammer and held the shield with both hands. He stabbed the steel spikes under the shield into the ground. Chilling palm. Li Fan's left hand started to swell and transform. Soon, it became like a beast's claw and heavily pressed against the cold steel shield. Dong! The cold steel shield was directly shattered. The Archangel was sent flying. The power of ice and fire was fused together by Li Fan, creating a powerful explosion with shocking power. Li Fan had never seen someone who could directly block Li Fan's Chilin palm. Even this cold steel shield couldn't do it. The Archangel flung his golden hair and jumped up. He looked at Li Fan in disbelief. The cold steel shield was actually broken. Could it be that you are a cyborg? He had heard that the United States was researching a type of cyborg, combining humans and machines to form a powerful combat strength. They were known as human weapons. Could it be that this Li Fan also had a cyborg with a metal skeleton? Li Fan didn't answer the Archangel's question. He used his Qinggong and instantly appeared in front of the Archangel, scaring the Archangel into taking a step back. Bam! Li Fan raised his foot and kicked the Archangel's chest, giving him a solid kick on his butt. The Archangel rolled to the ground and then bounced more than 10 meters away like a cannonball, causing the grass on the opposite side to be lifted up. The Archangel was wearing a metal armor and helped him neutralize 80% of the force. As a result, he wasn't injured, but his internal organs were slightly shaken. When he got up, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. What a terrifying Chinese! The Archangel finally understood that this guy called Li Fan wasn't a good person. His nickname in China was the Little Overlord. It seemed that it wasn't a title given for nothing, but what about his mission? Was he not going to do it anymore? The Archangel couldn't help but take out a black syringe. It contained the third-generation demon. The angel potion didn't have any side effects. It only stimulated the human body's metabolism and stimulated more potential. However, the demon potion was different. It was produced by an arms dealer. It was said that this demon potion would give a person great potential, but it would also bring about terrifying side effects. This thing. Should he use it or not? Looking at Li Fan standing there, the Archangel gritted his teeth. Wasn't it just a little side effect? At most, he would lose 2 years of life. He had to kill this Chinese monkey. Chapter 8:19. Archangel injected the potion into his blood vessels. He felt the world spinning around him. It was as if something had drilled into his body and flowed into his internal organs through his blood vessels. His body was trembling, and his muscles suddenly began to mutate. His muscles seemed to have a life of their own and began to grow. However, the Archangel was still wearing the metal armor. The muscles that grew quickly devoured the metal armor on his body. Archangel had completely mutated. His entire body turned into metal muscles, and the war hammer replaced his right arm as his weapon. There was also a cold steel shield on his left hand, strengthening his defense. The Archangel from before had now turned into a 3-meter-tall monster with a black and white wing on his back. But soon, the metal climbed up and engulfed the wing, turning it into a metal wing. Archangel's eyes were squeezed into one, and his single eye emitted a unique light. "Kill, you," Archangel made a mechanical voice at Li Fan. As expected, after this guy used the devil potion, it produced a terrifying chemical reaction with the angel potion and began to mutate. This terrifying metal monster was his mutated self. He didn't even have much rationality left. His only goal now was probably to kill him. Archangel flapped the wings on his back and suddenly rushed in front of Li Fan. His speed was as fast as a jet. The warhammer in his right hand swept towards Li Fan, bringing with it a strong flame. Li Fan threw out the extraordinary sword and controlled it to block in front of him, blocking Archangel's warhammer. Clang. Heavy sound. Both of their bodies trembled at the same time. Li Fan slid half a step back, and Archangel slid 2 steps back. Li Fan had just used 50% of his strength, but he felt that Archangel hadn't used his full strength either. He was familiarizing himself with the new strength in his body. Li Fan didn't expect the fusion of the angel and devil potions to produce such a powerful reaction. Amazing. Li Fan could not help but praise. The Archangel flapped his wings and charged at Li Fan again. At the same time, he attacked Li Fan with his warhammer. Li Fan donned the golden armor and used the crane's hand to block a few attacks, but was forced to retreat. With every attack, this fellow's strength would increase a little. If he was allowed to grow any further, it would not be good. Clad in golden armor, Li Fan instantly entered the state of Divine Dragon General. He faced the Archangel opposite him and carefully observed his every move. Every move of the Archangel was engraved in Li Fan's mind. No matter how powerful a person was, there would always be a flaw. As long as he grasped the Archangel's attack rhythm, he would be able to defeat him in one move. An Archangel might be strong, but he was a martial fighter. What did martial artists excel at? Combat. The Archangel charged in front of Li Fan again, the war hammer in his hand smashing down on Li Fan's head. This time, Li Fan did not retreat. He took a step forward and crashed into the Archangel's chest. Then, he used his elbow to hit the Archangel's chest. The impact caused the Archangel to explode and the war hammer in his hand to stop attacking. Following that, Li Fan kicked the Archangel's calf, bending the Archangel's metal calf and causing him to kneel on the ground. Li Fan followed up with a knee strike, hitting the Archangel's face heavily. Cracks appeared on the Archangel's helmet and his entire body flew more than 10 meters away, spinning and smashing into the ground. Li Fan's clean and beautiful combo skills. If Murongying saw it, she would definitely clap her hands in praise. This was a true martial fighter. It was rare for Li Fan to use combo skills. This time, he got the hang of it. However, after the Archangel's transformation, his defense had greatly increased. He quickly climbed out of the pit and some cracks appeared on the metal muscles on his body. He seemed to be enraged. He opened his mouth and roared fiercely. Roar. The air trembled as though it was frightened by the Archangel's roar. At the same time, the Archangel's right hammer slammed heavily on the ground, causing the ground to explode into a red wave of flames. The energy flowed along the ground and rapidly approached Li Fan. Bang! A powerful shockwave exploded beneath Li Fan's feet, sending Li Fan's body flying into the air. Li Fan fell to the ground. The Archangel swung his right arm and his entire body spun on the ground. The power of the hammer immediately increased. He was just waiting for Li Fan to fall and kill him with one strike. As the Archangel spun, it also caused the air currents to form a small vortex, pulling Li Fan's falling body over. The energy on Li Fan's body erupted. The shadow of an extraordinary sword appeared in front of him, allowing him to step on it. This was even more powerful than Cloud Ladder and Swallow 3 splashes. Li Fan's body directly received the rebound force and somersaulted back to the ground, dodging the Archangel's attack. However, the Archangel was not to be outdone. As his body spun, he moved and quickly approached Li Fan. Li Fan did not use his true chi to push the Archangel away because his true chi was not omnipotent. The Archangel's current strength was too great. Just relying on his true chi was useless. If his true chi approached, it would be crushed by the Archangel's hammer. Oh no, this is dangerous. Seeing the surrounding rubble being swept over and then smashed into pieces by the war hammer, Liu Bing knew that things were not looking good. Officer Li must have his ways. After watching a few battles, Zhong Guang now had blind faith in Li Fan. He even trusted him more than Ju Tai, who was a level higher than him. Li Fan's strength was real. He had saved them from danger many times. Chapter 820. The mutated archangel was forced to retreat by Li Fan's attacks. The dense rain of swords destroyed his body, and he couldn't even lift his hammer. Li Fan immediately withdrew and prepared to use Qilin Palm to defeat the archangel. But the moment Li Fan approached, the archangel suddenly roared. This roar caused Li Fan's body to freeze, and he was unable to move for a long time. The archangel's roar seemed to have some special mental ability that directly captured his nerves and locked his body, temporarily immobilizing him. Although it only took less than a second, the archangel had already rushed in front of Li Fan. At the same time, the war hammer in his hand smashed down on Li Fan's head. Golden light appeared. Flying Lion Murong Ying appeared in front of Li Fan with her shield and used it to block the archangel's war hammer. Clang! Flying Lion Murong Ying's shield was shattered, and her body was scattered by the power of the war hammer. However, Li Fan was safe and sound. He stood there, his body regaining the ability to move. He raised his palm and slapped the archangel's chest. Bang! Qilin Palm. The power of ice and fire fused and exploded, striking the archangel's chest and sending him flying. A clear palm print was left on his chest. Li Fan was a little angry. Flying Lion Murong Ying appeared automatically. Every time he was in the most dangerous situation, she would automatically come out to protect her master. He didn't know if this mode was the ability of Bai Linluo's good guy card. Fortunately, the good guy card wouldn't be damaged. After being defeated, it would take about half an hour to recover. However, sacrificing Murong Ying to save him once made Li Fan a little unhappy. Although the archangel stood up again, his 7 orifices began to bleed. He screamed and rushed in front of Li Fan again as if he was hysterical, attacking with his war hammer crazily. Such a heavy hammer was like a toy to him. He waved it around with astonishing strength. Li Fan held the 2 sword shadows in his hands and continuously clashed with the archangel's war hammer. The 2 sword shadows were infused with Li Fan's true energy, making them incomparably hard. They were evenly matched with the archangel's war hammer. In the end, the archangel was still a little weak. He only knew how to attack in a frenzy, but he didn't understand the rhythm of his attacks. Li Fan was a martial artist who had trained hard. He quickly discovered more of the archangel's weaknesses. Seeing an opening, Li Fan suddenly raised his 2 swords and slashed at the archangel's shoulder. 2 sparks flew and blood spurted out. The archangel's body stiffened, but Li Fan raised his 2 swords and suddenly sped up. In just 3 short seconds, Li Fan had slashed out over 100 times, all of them landing on the archangel's body. Finally, Li Fan took a step forward and slowly sheathed his 2 swords. Dragon Shadow Chasing Wind Slash. Suddenly, blood spurted out from the archangel's chest. The archangel slowly knelt on the ground. Obviously, he was seriously injured by Li Fan's move. Just as Li Fan was about to heave a sigh of relief, a bolt of lightning suddenly fell from the sky. This lightning bolt was like a spear, directly piercing through Li Fan's shoulder and nailing his body to the ground. Li Fan frowned. He raised his head and saw a familiar figure floating in the air. He was wearing a gorgeous golden coat and holding 2 lightning spears in his hands. He was smiling at Li Fan. Poseidon. Li Fan recalled that he had heard them mention that Poseidon was already the creator. Li Fan, your combat strength is not bad. The creator floated in the air and sneered at Li Fan. However, this is limited to humans. For a god, you are still too far away. God. Li Fan held the lightning protruding from his shoulder and slowly pulled it out. Blood flowed from his shoulder and slowly healed. His healing ability was faster than others. However, the lightning on the lightning was still there and was constantly tearing at Li Fan's wounds. A god who likes to sneak attack, how interesting. Li Fan laughed coldly. The meaning of mockery was very obvious. If God's capital is like this, I'd rather be an ordinary person. Li Fan, do you think that you can defeat me without being injured? The Creator said very proudly, I am a high and mighty God with supreme divine power. To me, you can be squashed to death with just a flick of my finger. Then come and try. Li Fan's injuries recovered a little. He raised his head and looked at the Creator in the air. I was the one who released you. Let me kill you with my own hands. Ha 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 ha, what a foolish mortal. Dream on. The Creator laughed loudly. He thought that Li Fan was joking. His strength had recovered quite a bit. With his super strong mental power and proficient in many kinds of superpowers, he felt that he had become a supreme god. The Creator raised both of his hands. Lightning condensed on his palms and formed a powerful lightning spear. The energy contained in each lightning spear was enough to destroy a small town. This was the power of the Creator. After regaining the power from back then, the Creator was filled with confidence. With his strength, he was more than enough to kill this Chinese monkey. So what if a Chinese knows some strange martial arts? His own superpower was the strongest power. As soon as the god of creation released his hand, another bolt of lightning struck down, heading straight for Li Fan. However, Li Fan was already prepared. He stretched out his right palm and blocked the lightning. Bang! The lightning and Li Fan's palm collided and a shockwave exploded. With a loud bang, Li Fan took a step back and the lightning was shattered by the force. The Creator kept throwing lightning spears at Li Fan, trying to blast Li Fan into pieces. However, Li Fan used both of his palms to block the lightning, tearing it apart. Li Fan relied on his true qi to protect himself. Although some of his internal organs were injured, he was still in good health. The more he fought, the stronger he became. The wound on his shoulder was also healing quickly. Although it was electricity, Li Fan could absorb electricity. Therefore, he slowly absorbed the lightning on his shoulder. This Creator was too annoying. This time, he should take the opportunity to kill him and get it over with once and for all. Li Fan destroyed the Creator's lightning attacks. At the same time, he aimed his palm at the Creator's body and slapped it across the air. Ursa Major Seal. The Creator's body trembled violently, and he was sent flying. He tumbled in the air, and then he stabilized his body. Just with your strength. You dare to hurt me. After stabilizing his body, the Creator sneered at Li Fan. What a joke. With that, the Creator raised both of his hands and created a huge lightning spear. Fighting with God will be your death. The sky was filled with dark clouds. It was as if they were creating momentum for the Creator. This time, it was like a war between humans and God. Chapter 8:21. The Creator floated high in the sky, holding a ball of lightning in his hands and condensing it into a lightning spear. Li Fan stood on the ground, his body surging with golden true qi. The Great War God popped out and appeared behind Li Fan, raising his palm and aiming at the Creator above his head. The two of them stared at each other, wanting to kill each other. All of a sudden, the Creator threw that terrible thunderbolt downward. The lightning spear directly reached the top of Li Fan's head, and it looked like it was going to pierce through Li Fan's head. But the Great War God's palm also slapped out. The powerful palm wind impacted on the lightning spear, resisting the energy of the lightning spear. The energy of the lightning spear was constantly weakening, and the figure of the Great War God was also slowly fading. The energy of both sides was rapidly depleting. The Creator sneered again and again. My energy is very strong, just based on a human like you. How can you contend against me? The Creator's energy was indeed very huge, a level higher than Li Fan's. Li Fan's true qi consumption was faster than the Creator. If this continued, it was obvious that Li Fan was at a disadvantage. The Creator was also full of confidence. He was prepared to take down Li Fan in this wave and get his real body. Li Fan's true qi was already starting to reach the bottom, but he took out an origin recovery pill and stuffed it into his mouth. The origin recovery pill began to replenish a large amount of Li Fan's lost true qi. Sensing that Li Fan's strength was starting to recover, the Creator was somewhat stunned. What is going on? The creator felt that it was inexplicable. What method did this Li Fan use to actually start to recover his lost power? A human can't do this. After Li Fan consumed another wave of the creator's power, he ate another origin recovery pill. The true chi that he had consumed was replenished again. The creator was crazy. What kind of situation was this? How could he fight happily? How could a human fight against a powerful god like him? I am a god. God my ass. A murderous glint flashed across Li Fan's eyes. His great god of war remained where he was and pushed his palms forward. However, Li Fan's figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared in the sky in the blink of an eye, floating in front of the creator. The creator was taken aback. He remembered that Li Fan and the god of war were one body. It was impossible for them to be separated. But now, Li Fan actually did it. In the next second, Li Fan placed his palm on the creator's body. Chilean palm. The attack caused the creator's body to fall from the sky and crash into the ground like a cannonball. With a rumbling sound, a huge crater appeared on the ground, and the creator was lying inside. Li Fan stretched out his hand and the extraordinary sword flew into the air, spinning rapidly. Countless sword shadows descended from the sky like rain, madly shooting into the pit below. The ground shook and smoke rose into the sky. It was unknown whether Li Fan's attack was effective or not. But the creator was lying in the pit and did not make a sound for a long time. Li Fan waved his hand and the wind from his palm dispelled the smoke. The creator was squatting in the pit, and the wounds on his body were constantly being healed. With his energy, it was still possible to heal such injuries. But to do so, it would require a lot of energy. Although the creator had a lot of energy, his powerful mental power and various mutant superpowers made him very strong in combat. But after a few battles, the creator's body had been emptied, and he was feeling weak. It was all because of this body. If he could take back his body, then he could become a real immortal god. The creator raised his head, which was still smoking, and looked at the metal can beside him. He raised his hand and shot a row of lightning at Li Fan. Li Fan used a sword shadow to block in front of him, blocking the lightning. But at the same time, the creator's body suddenly appeared on top of the metal can. He stretched out his hand and tapped on the metal can. The metal can immediately split open, and a figure could be faintly seen inside. The creator was very excited. He finally found his body. When the smoke dispersed, he was dumbfounded. The thing placed there was not his body, but a blow-up doll, and it was a cheap Daobao product. Motherfucker, what the hell is this? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. I'm sorry. Due to the lack of funds, I only bought a 300 renminbi one. Lin Chiliang's custom-made version. Are you satisfied? Fuck your grandpa. The creator of the universe cursed, but Li Fan suddenly took a step forward and attacked the creator of the universe with a Kirin palm. The creator's body immediately rose into the air, dodging Li Fan's attack. Li Fan, I will definitely find my body. When that time comes, I will destroy you, and then the whole world. I think you are the one who is retarded. Li Fan sneered at the creator above him. You only have a bit more power than ordinary people, and you dare to call yourself a god. What a joke. I am a god. How can a mortal like you understand my power? The creator's face was full of disdain. He looked at Li Fan with a look of condescension. I am not in the mood today. I will come back next time to destroy you. The creator said and wanted to leave. You come and go as you please. What do you think China is? Li Fan did not want to let this guy go. Leave something behind for me. As he spoke, he stepped on the cloud-ascending ladder and caught up to the creator in a matter of seconds. He was right in front of him. Lie down. Li Fan raised his leg and like a battle axe, it chopped down on the creator's head. The creator felt the danger and raised his energy shield to block above his head. Li Fan's leg landed on the energy shield. The energy shield was bent and almost broke, but it still bounced Li Fan's leg back. The creator laughed. Ahahaha, did you see that? You can't even break my shield. However, a strong burst of essential chi suddenly erupted from the shield, and it was transmitted directly to the god of creation's body. Bang! The creator fell to the ground again. The creator tried to stabilize his body in the air. Li Fan instantly caught up and put his hand on the creator's head. Boom! The creator's head was pressed into the ground by Li Fan. The ground was distorted and a pit was left. And the creator's head was instantly smashed into pieces. Li Fan killed the creator in seconds. The next second, Li Fan's head suddenly hurt, as if something was trying to drill into his head. It was as if he could see the body of the creator of the universe trying to drill into his head again. But Mr. Yang, who he had not seen for a long time, stood beside him and smiled at him. Mr. Yang raised his cane and hooked it on the creator's leg. The creator was immediately pulled out and thrown to the ground. So it is like this. The creator seemed to be panicking. He turned his head, turned into a star and escaped into the distant sky. Chapter 8:22. The god of creation's body was destroyed by Li Fan, and at this moment, Li Fan was being roared at by Ju Tai. Where is it? Where is it? Ju Tai was about to go crazy. X was the most important part of their plan. If X was gone, they would all be finished. Don't worry, I've put it away properly. Li Fan chuckled. Calculating the time, we should have reached Spanish equinox by now. Really? Ju Tai was taken aback when he heard this. This Li Fan couldn't be lying to him, right? If you don't believe me, wait for half an hour. The news should reach you. Li Fan's words made Ju Tai a little suspicious, but he said it with such certainty and seriousness. Fine, if I don't see it in half an hour, I'll kill you. Ju Tai was also extremely angry. He angrily hung up the phone. Li Fan didn't care. Lin Yuhin's method was almost foolproof. If there was a problem, it would only be with 7-Star or Chen Junhua. If one of them was a traitor, then the mission would fail. However, Li Fan believed in these two people and did not doubt them. He sat on a rock in the no-man's land with Liu Bing beside him. Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were also resting, while Zhong Guang went out to look for a car. Speaking of which, your officer doesn't trust me at all. Li Fan glanced in a certain direction. The man in the jacket was hiding there with his binoculars and immediately felt a chill. He maintained a distance of 300 meters, but Li Fan could still detect him. If it was someone else with such an abnormal ability, the man in the jacket would definitely not believe it. However, along the way, watching Li Fan defeat the heroes, the man in the jacket felt that there was nothing he couldn't do. He even beat the god of creation away. That god of creation was an internationally famous wanted criminal. He was listed as an international S-rank terrorist. Back then, Saddam Gaddafi was barely considered an A-rank criminal. Are we really going to follow this group of people? When Liu Bing was smoking, Yang Kai walked over and asked Li Fan. That idiot just now, his tone of voice was so arrogant. Yang Kai was displeased. Kill you? What a braggart. If we really fight, who knows who will be killed? Working with these people is like asking a tiger for its skin. Li Fan nodded and said, currently, the escort agency is in a very awkward position. We need their strength. But you're so willing to lower your head. The Li Fan I knew in the past was a little tyrant who wasn't afraid of anything. Right now, I'm also a little tyrant. Li Fan smiled faintly, but the way of being domineering is different. In the past, I only fought against 1 or 2 people, but now, I have to fight against more people. I alone can withstand the pressure they put on me, but I can't do it now. I have to be responsible for the entire escort agency, our entire family. Li Fan's explanation convinced Yang Kai. If you were in my position, I think you would be the same. No matter how arrogant you are, you have to hide it and lower your head. We are not right. Yang Kai lowered his head in shame. Old Guan and I failed to share your burden. Instead, we became your burden. No, you've done very well. But the escort agency is getting bigger and bigger, and there are more people. You and Old Guan can protect yourselves, but the others can't. Since I'm the head of the escort agency, I have to bear this responsibility. For example, that Ju Tai from before. I can also give him a good scolding or directly go to his door and kill him. But what's the point? It's just a moment of pleasure. It's not a big deal to let him scold me. When he knows that I've completed the task, the misunderstanding will naturally be cleared up. I'm afraid that even if he knows he's wrong, he won't apologize to you. It doesn't matter. Li Fan waved his hand. He's not someone that I, Li Fan, care about. What he thinks is not important to me. Yang Kai stared blankly at Li Fan standing in front of him. The youth he'd known for a year or two had suddenly become somewhat unfamiliar, yet also somewhat lofty. In the past, Li Fan was full of thorns, hot-tempered, and fearless. He didn't have any supernatural powers. If he did, he would probably be able to tear a hole in the sky. But now, Li Fan had grown immeasurably, becoming much more mature and steady. Right now, Li Fan was like a towering mountain. Just by standing there, he was like a tall mountain that people could only look up to. Yang Kai still felt a deep sense of self-blame. If he'd been able to share some of Li Fan's burden, he wouldn't have needed to lower his head to those officials. Benefactor. At this moment, Guan Wenbao walked over with his crescent blade and cupped his hands at Li Fan. What is it? Benefactor, I would like to apply for annual leave. Annual leave? Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, Yang Kai became unhappy and rebuked. Are you crazy? Applying for annual leave from Li Fan at this time? What's wrong? Li Fan pulled Yang Kai, who was a little angry, and asked Guan Wenbao, who was half kneeling in front of him. I believe that my strength is too meager to assist Benefactor. Guan Wenbao lowered his head and said, I hope to have a year to train my strength. I will definitely repay Benefactor after a year. Although we are in need of manpower, your request is understandable. Guan Wenbao had always been diligent in his cultivation, but his frequent work in the escort agency had somewhat delayed his cultivation. You bastard. Yang Kai was a little angry. If you want to leave, then leave. This Taoist will not leave the agency. I hope that you can help Benefactor in the year I'm gone. When I return after a year, I will definitely make amend. There's no need to talk about making amends. Train your strength well. It won't be a problem to run the agency slowly this year. Li Fan comforted Guan Wenbao, you can look for me immediately if you need anything. I'm sorry to disappoint Benefactor. No, we're all brothers. Please don't say that. After this battle, both Guan Wenbao and Yang Kai were extremely ashamed. Both of them had their own thoughts, so Li Fan could not say too much. Li Fan could only go along with their wishes and ease their hearts. Both of them were dragons and phoenixes among men, but they still needed some training. This time, it could be considered as a reminder to them, and also to himself. There was always someone better out there. One must not be too confident in one's own strength. After sending off Guan Wenbao, Li Fan received a call from Ju Tai. Li Fan, you're truly a godly person, Ju Tai said with a chuckle. We've received the item and are sending it to your island. I was right about you. Your strength and schemes are both trustworthy. Millimeter, then let's settle the balance. Chapter 823. Li Fan finished a big order from the government, and he also ushered in a short period of leisure. Recently, Murong's villa had become very well behaved. It seemed the previous operation had embarrassed Murong Bo, so his superiors exerted heavy pressure on him to deal with Li Fan. Although both sides still had to fight in the open and in the dark, in the organization, Li Fan and Murong Bo's backing still didn't shed all pretense of cordiality, so they didn't want to make things too stiff. If they didn't want things to become too tense, their subordinates had to hold them back. However, just because Murong's villa was quiet didn't mean Li Fan could relax. Recently, the escort agency's business was quite good. Although business in the pugilistic world was still slow, they received some business from the secular world. Moreover, through Ju Tai's connections, Li Fan often received orders from the government. Some items that the government couldn't or were too lazy to use manpower to transport were all handed over to Fei Fan to handle. This way, at least Li Fan could make ends meet and even start to have a surplus. The escort agency finally went from a loss-making state to a stable state. However, good days were always too short. While Li Fan was busy revising in school, Big Dipper sent someone with a message, telling Li Fan to hurry to the agency. What's the matter? I'll go over after school tonight. Li Fan stood at the classroom door and looked at the anxious Huang Lei. But why did you come personally? Haven't you been having a good time lately? Huang Lei had received quite a bit of money from the big haul last time. Although the limelight hadn't completely passed, it had calmed down quite a bit. Huang Lei couldn't help but donate large amounts of money to various clubs. This guy seemed to have an obsession with used cars. Who knew where he'd gotten a second-hand Camaro, but he drove it every day to pick up girls. It was a joyful sight. He rarely took care of the escort agency's matters anymore. Usually, he ordered his subordinates to do it for him. It was rare to see Huang Lei today. This fellow had a head full of yellow hair and wore a smooth black mink coat. He also had a buffalo leather bag under his arm. He was afraid that others would not know that he was a nouveau riche. What a mess. Li Fan was also speechless. Some of the students and teachers who were passing by looked over with strange gazes. My dear brother, you're still concerned about these things at a time like this. I was in the middle of discussing life with a girl when Big Dipper called me 100 times to hand me over. He ordered me to bring you to the escort agency. By the way, my good big brother, why don't you turn on your phone? I was in a hurry this morning and accidentally left my phone in the attic. Li Fan explained, what's so urgent? Can't we go at night? You'd better hurry up and take a look. Otherwise, that geezer Big Dipper will eat me alive. When Li Fan wasn't around, Big Dipper handled the escort agency's affairs. This old man had a lot of experience in Jianghu and was suitable for this kind of work. All right. I'll ask for leave from the teacher. Recently, Li Fan had been working hard on his studies and could be considered to have made some progress. His average grades had increased by a large margin. Just when he had made some progress, he was asked to skip class again. Li Fan felt a bit pained. Sure enough, a person's energy was limited. If one wanted to be strong and study well, they would need a brain like Lin Yuhin. Big brother can go up and leave whenever he wants. Why would he need to ask for leave from these fellows? Huang Lei's eyes widened and he took out a small katana from his pocket. I'll see who dares to stop my big brother. I'll stab them 3 times. You're crazy. Li Fan reached out and slapped the white katana in Huang Lei's hand away. What are you doing with this thing? Aya, big brother, this is a piece of art I bought when I went out to play. It's very expensive. It's over 3,000. Is 3,000 considered a lot to you now? Li Fan rolled his eyes at him. Lei, it's not that I want to criticize you, but it's not easy for you to earn money. Don't squander all your money. Don't worry, big brother. I'm a person who lives a good life but also a coward life. I can live both good and bad. In any case, you should pay more attention. Li Fan has no other choice. He knocked on the classroom door and greeted the teacher who was in class. After that, he followed Huang Lei and left. If it was a normal day, it would be impossible for a Year 3 student to leave just like that during class time. But the little tyrant is an exception. As long as he doesn't burn, kill, or loot, no one would care what he does. He followed Huang Lei out of the school building. Huang Lei's Camaro is openly parked in front of the school building. Damn, you're too arrogant recently. Li Fan couldn't help but scold Huang Lei. This is a school, you don't allow social vehicles to enter. Haha, that's an outsider. When I said I'm Big Brother's little brother, those security guards immediately let me in. Big Brother's face is still big. I think it's your face that's big. Li Fan stared at Huang Lei. You're not allowed to do this in the future. Ari, this is not like Big Brother's character to follow the rules. Huang Lei muttered. Big Brother, what do you think of my car? Huang Lei seemed to see that Li Fan is a bit angry and quickly shifted Li Fan's gaze. Li Fan then carefully looked at Huang Lei's Camaro and suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is a limited edition Bumblebee. The entire car body is widened and there are a lot of rivets on the car body, making it a bit nondescript. The rear of the car is equipped with a large and exaggerated rear wing, making it look very unconventional. My car is too domineering. The engine has been changed to 12 cylinders, and it's very powerful. If I see a supercar on the road, my bumblebee will burst their ass. If you keep a high profile, you'll be in the police station getting your ass burst. Li Fan's words made Huang Lei tense up. Big brother, don't joke around. I like to spend money, but I'm a very honest person. Honest my ass. Li Fan can't be bothered to scold him. Change this car for me tomorrow. Change to an Audi. Big brother, just kill me. This car is my baby, my heart. Huang Lei almost cried out. Look at you. Li Fan rolled his eyes. You handle it yourself. Hurry, bring me to the security agency. Okay, big brother, please get in the car. Huang Lei opened the car door, and Li Fan looked inside. Damn, it's all racing seats, and his butt hurts when he sits on it. You really know how to torture yourself. Big brother, this is called pursuing. Big brother, you don't know, but I've been racing with them at Yi Road West recently. Those little bastards are no match for me at all. But they have a very good racer, and I like his girlfriend. Tonight, I'm going to race with him. If I win, I'll take the girlfriend away, and if I lose, I'll give the car to him. The woman that Huang Lei likes, what does she look like? Li Fan imagined the scene and shuddered. Chapter 824. Huang Lei didn't know martial arts, so he couldn't be of much help after the escort agency went on the right track. He basically lived a retired life. Drinking, driving, and flirting became his daily routine. After Huang Lei sent Li Fan to the agency, he ran off in a hurry for God knows what. Li Fan stood at the entrance of the escort agency and looked across the street. The street was decorated with lanterns and colorful streamers, lion dances, and dragon dances. He didn't know what these people were busy with, but it seemed like they'd opened a new shop. There were also many customers on the other side. The crowd was so dense that not even a drop of water could trickle through. What shop is that? Why are there so many people? Li Fan asked as he pushed open the door to the agency and walked in. Oh my, head escort, you're here. Big Dipper, who usually sat on the fishing platform, couldn't sit still anymore. He grabbed Li Fan's hand and said, I wanted to talk to you about the shop across the street. What about the shop across the street? The shop across the street is also an escort agency. Big Dipper hurriedly said, Head escort, it's Jiang Feng. Oh. Li Fan couldn't help but raise his brows. Interesting. I didn't provoke him, but he just had to provoke me. Head escort, what do you plan to do about this? Even if someone else opened an escort agency across the street, I'd definitely go over to congratulate them. After all, we'll be neighbors in the future. Jiang Feng and I are old acquaintances. If I don't go, wouldn't it be rude? As Li Fan spoke, he put on his school uniform and walked out of the escort agency. Then, he walked across the street. The opposite street was still bustling with activity. Several lion dance teams were there to celebrate the opening of the new escort agency. Li Fan squeezed through the crowd with his vital energy and approached the front. Jiang Feng was dressed in luxurious embroidered clothing. He stood there with a dashing demeanor, returning the greetings of the customers. Jiang Feng cupped his hands in greeting with a face full of smiles, looking very pleased. It was as if he was the center of attention and everyone's eyes were on him. But as Li Fan walked in, everyone's gaze couldn't help but change. Although Li Fan was only wearing an ordinary school uniform, he had a very special temperament that made people have no choice but to take him seriously. A man's name is like a tree's shadow. The little overlord, Li Fan, lived up to his reputation. Hey, if it isn't head escort Li. Jiang Feng cupped his hands towards Li Fan. Nice to meet you. Why are you here? Big brother Jiang. You look talented and should be a smart person. Why are you saying such silly things? Li Fan chuckled. How can I not know that you opened an escort agency in front of my house? Your house. This is only your company. It shouldn't be considered your home, right? Oh, it turns out that brother Jiang knows that this is my company. Look at me, I shouldn't have done that. I thought brother Jiang really didn't know. Jiang Feng was speechless. He didn't expect Li Fan to be so eloquent. But he also paused for a moment before quickly speaking again. Head escort Lee, don't tell me you're angry at me because I opened my company opposite yours. How can that be? The pugilistic world is huge. God knows how many escort agencies are supported. Li Fan laughed. Everyone earns money and does business together. I'm more than happy that you're opening an escort agency. By the way, your place is quite lively. You wouldn't mind me disturbing you, would you? The two of them engaged in a war of words the moment they met, using their words to attack each other. How can that be? Head escort Lee is an honored guest. Why wouldn't I like you coming? After all, I defeated you at Murong's birthday celebration. I'm afraid you'll lose face. Li Fan's words almost made Jiang Feng grind his teeth to pieces. Damn it, this man is definitely doing it on purpose. But Jiang Feng was very shrewd. Although he lost face in front of so many people, he endured it. This kind of shrewdness was not something an ordinary person could have. However, Jiang Feng did not plan to let Li Fan off so easily. He chuckled and said, "How can that be? You defeated me because you're capable, head escort Li. But today is the opening day of my shop. It's my honor that head escort Li is willing to send a congratulatory gift." As he spoke, Jiang Feng glanced at an escort beside him. That escort was very quick-witted and immediately interrupted. "Li Fan, you're also a head escort now. If you're here to celebrate the opening of your business, you have to bring a congratulatory gift. I see that you're empty-handed. I'm afraid you didn't prepare anything, right? Hey, what are you saying?" Jiang Feng reprimanded the escort. Is head escort Li someone who doesn't understand etiquette? Besides, even if you didn't bring anything, his presence is a sign of respect to me. Head escort Li is right. I was rude. Please forgive me, head escort Li. The escort immediately cupped his hands at Li Fan. Li Fan smiled. Jiang Feng really knew how to shift the blame to others. I came in a hurry, so I didn't prepare a congratulatory gift. But this young man is right. I'm the head escort of Faifan Escort Agency, so I can't be rude. Let's do it this way. As he spoke, Li Fan walked to the side of a lion dance team. He extended his hand and took the golden lion's head. He raised it in his hand. How about I perform an impromptu lion dance for you to congratulate you? Big brother Jiang, what do you think? Wonderful, wonderful. Jiang Feng clapped his hands and praised him. He said with a smile, being able to have the little tyrant perform a lion dance for my escort agency will be a great story in the future. Big brother Jiang, here I come. As Li Fan spoke, he put on the lion's head and began the impromptu lion dance with his feet in the lion's footstep. Although he did not have this kind of experience before, Li Fan was proficient in the steps of a fierce tiger. Although a lion and a tiger were different, their aura was the same. Li Fan walked with the majestic steps of a dragon and waved the lion's head. It was as if he was a real lion king that came out of the forest. Everyone was a little stunned when they saw this. This Li Fan was only an ordinary high school student. How could he know how to perform a lion dance? This set of martial arts was rarely passed down. There were fewer and fewer people who were willing to learn it. It was getting worse with each generation. Now, there were only a few masters in the Guangzhou area who were teaching it. However, in the north, it was basically lost. These lion dance masters were specially invited from Guangzhou. And Li Fan was a northeasterner. How could he know how to perform a lion dance? This was really strange. Could it be that Murong's family taught him? Impossible. Murong's family was also from the north. It was impossible for them to know this kind of skill. Li Fan could not care less about the guest's surprise. He was dancing happily, attracting attention. Li Fan walked up the steps and climbed up the stage. Finally, he jumped towards the plaque that Jiang Feng had just hung up. The World Escort Agency. It implied that the World Alliance had the momentum to unify the pugilistic world. Chapter 825. Jiang Feng's ambition was so great that it was almost hanging on his head. The plaque was hanging there, and Li Fan had already leaped up, as if he was jumping directly towards the plaque. He was so fast and sudden that the people around him didn't notice it at all. By the time they realized it, Li Fan was already in front of the plaque. The lion's mouth seemed to be biting at the plaque. At this moment, a beautiful woman jumped out of the atrium. This beautiful woman was dressed in white and had two beautiful buns. She looked like a little dragon girl, simple, elegant, and beautiful. The woman jumped out and at the same time, held a white sword in her hand and stabbed at the space between Li Fan's eyebrows. The woman's swordsmanship seemed to be quite clever. With a wave of her hand, she stabbed 3 times in a row. They were fast, accurate, and ruthless. But Li Fan sneered. He suddenly roared. The sound wave blasted out, shaking the body of the woman in front of him, causing her to directly fall from the sky, was caught by Jiang Feng. Li Fan used the lion's mouth to bite a flower ball hanging under the plaque and then fell to the ground. Brother Jiang, who is this heroine? Li Fan pretended to be nonchalant. He threw the lion's head back to the previous lion dance master. She's so fierce. Fortunately, I held back some of my strength. Otherwise, I'm afraid she would have died. Jiang Feng gritted his teeth, but he didn't know what to say. Li Fan was not only powerful in martial arts, but also very cunning. If Jiang Feng had a choice, he really didn't like to make Li Fan his enemy. However, there were some things that Jiang Feng couldn't choose. Although he had left Murong's house, he was still secretly controlled by Murong's blog. Murong's blog had taken him out to go against Li Fan. In this way, even if he was kicked out of the Murong family, he could save the face of the Murong villa. At the same time, he could deal with Li Fan without affecting the official status of the Murong family. But this opponent of Li Fan is really not easy to deal with. I'm really sorry. This is my escort agency's martial master, Taishan sect's Shui Wuxin. Taishan school? Li Fan was a little surprised. In the past, he had heard from Tai Zhu that the 5 mountain sword sect had long fallen apart. Back then, the most powerful sword sect in the world had a fierce battle. In the end, only the Mount Hua sect remained. The other 4 major sword sects had all disappeared without a trace. There was almost no one left. And this beautiful woman in front of him was actually from the Mount Tai sword faction. This was truly surprising. Brother Jiang. I'm sorry, just now, this woman was extremely fierce to Li Fan, but now, she was as gentle as water to Jiang Feng. The gap between them could be seen immediately. Li Fan couldn't help but want to laugh. It seemed that this person liked Jiang Feng. It's good that Wuxin wasn't hurt. Jiang Feng first comforted this girl, but next time, don't be so impulsive. Brother Li only went to the lion dance to liven things up. I know, it's my fault. Although Shui Wuxin was apologizing gently in front of Jiang Feng, when she looked at Li Fan, her eyes were filled with anger and disgust. Am I really that annoying? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Brother Jiang, I have already sent my regards. In the future, please take care of me in the business. With that, Li Fan turned around and was about to leave. He came here just to ridicule Jiang Feng. Since he had achieved his goal, it was time for him to leave. But Jiang Feng didn't intend to let Li Fan go so easily. Just now, it was Li Fan who was attacking. Now, it was time for him to retaliate. Brother Li, you see, from now on, we are neighbors. Naturally, we should take care of each other. Jiang Feng called out to Li Fan with a smile and said, You see, I, Jiang Feng, am indebted to everyone's care and received many orders. But my escort agency is only so big. I can't run so many orders. Since we are neighbors, how about this? I will give you 2 orders. What do you think? With that, he turned his head and looked at the Jianghu person beside him. Brother Wang, why don't you give your orders to Brother Li? Our Brother Li is a little overlord. With his strength, he will definitely not disappoint you. Forget it. That Jianghu person quickly waved his hand. In the entire Jianghu, the only agency I don't want to choose is phenomenal. How about, Brother Zhong? Spare me. Before Jiang Feng could speak, a man who looked like a boxing master quickly waved his hand. Spare me, spare me. Li Fan glanced at him. This brother came with his escort, but he didn't know who he was giving a box of apples to. He was probably here purely to support. Li Fan really wanted to laugh. A box of apples, couldn't he just use express delivery? What about the other bosses? Unsurprisingly, everyone objected to giving Li Fan orders. Even if it was just a box of apples, it was unacceptable. However, Li Fan wasn't surprised at all. Jiang Feng was purposely using this matter to ridicule him. No matter how amazing his phenomenal escort agency was, in this Jianghu, it couldn't even receive a box of apples. This way, Li Fan would lose all his face in front of the Jianghu heroes. Speaking of which, it's strange. Li Fan looked at Jiang Feng with an innocent face. Brother Jiang, my experience in the Jianghu is shallow. I have some questions that I need to consult you about. What questions? Jiang Feng's face darkened. He had a feeling that Li Fan had some conspiracy waiting for him. You see, I can't get along with Murong's villa, so Murong's villa blacklisted me, making me unable to make a living in the Jianghu. However, Murong's villa also chased you out like a dog, so how can you still have business? Is it because these friends in the Jianghu think that Brother Jiang is more powerful than Murong Bo? Li Fan's words were really a trap within a trap. Each of his words contained a trap. For a moment, he was speechless and didn't know how to answer this question. At this moment, Shui Wuxin took a step forward and said softly, "Of course not. Murong's villa is a big business, and Villa Lord Murong Bo is a righteous person with a broad mind. Why would he blacklist us? Chief Escort Li, you're overthinking it. It doesn't seem like the bearing of an expert." Shui Wuxin's words once again rebutted Li Fan. He couldn't help but look at Shui Wuxin a few more times. Jiang Feng also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Shui Wuxin was quick-witted. Otherwise, he might not be able to get through this today. Among these people, there were Murong Bo's informants. If there was any mistake in his words or actions, he would know. So that's how it is. It seems that I'm indeed a petty person who gauges the heart of a gentleman. Li Fan smiled and said, Villa Lord Murong is a good person, a very good person. If he were to mock me, he would be worse than a pig or a dog. Isn't that right, water heroine? Your opinion of Villa Lord Murong is your own business. However, in the Jianghu, gossip is not allowed. If there's a problem, it should be settled with fists and feet, right? Chapter 826. That's right. Li Fan nodded his head. In Jianghu, fists speak. I don't know if Big Brother Jiang is willing to have a fight with me today to get some good news. Li Fan's words had a hidden meaning. You and I are only separated by a street. From now on, we will be neighbors, and we will also be in the same profession. How about we make friends through martial arts today to deepen our relationship? What do you think? Jiang Feng swallowed his saliva. The opponent had already said these words, so he definitely could not be a coward. This damn Li Fan. He actually played this trick with him. Shui Wuxin's brain worked very fast, and Li Fan's serpent punishing stick followed her train of thought and blocked all of the chess move. Everyone's gaze fell on Jiang Feng. Even though it was a bit unreasonable to propose a martial arts competition at this time, this was Jianghu, and making friends through martial arts was the rule. No matter who it was, they could not break this iron rule. Li Fan had already issued a challenge, so Jiang Feng had to accept it. He looked around, and then said, if that's the case, then let's change to a different place to compete. Sure, Big Brother Jiang, please. Li Fan cupped his hands, and then followed Jiang Feng into the inner courtyard of the World Escort Agency, and then they came to a tea room. The martial artists all followed in, wanting to watch the show. Even though they came to support, but when Jiang Feng and Li Fan fought, they couldn't wait to see more of this show. Right now, Jiang Feng was very famous in Jianghu. Because he had a good temper, and because he liked to make friends with heroes, he was given the nickname Young Master Xiao. A match between Young Master Xiao and the Little Tyrant, this was a rare sight. Brother Li, please sit. Jiang Feng led Li Fan to a square table. On this table, there was a chessboard, and on top of it was a chess set. Today is the opening of my store, so it is not suitable for a martial arts battle. How about a civil battle? Competing in chess. I am not good at this. Hehe, Brother Li, not this chessboard, but the one outside. Jiang Feng pointed outside, only to see that on the stage outside, there were rows of stone soldiers. These stone soldiers were extremely lifelike. Every one of them was the size of a real person, and even their expressions were extremely lifelike. The soldiers on one side wore red armor, while the soldiers on the other side wore black armor. There were 16 chess pieces on each side. They were 5 pawns with long spears, 2 Vulcan cannons, 2 chariots, 2 cavalrymen, 2 left and right ministers with jade slips in their hands, 2 guards with long swords, and an emperor wearing a dragon robe. This was the lineup of each team, which corresponded to the Chinese chess. You and I will use these meteorite soldiers as chess pieces. Each of these chess pieces weighs a ton. You and I have to sit in this room and control the chess pieces to play chess. Brother Li, what do you think? Sure. Li Fan nodded. I agree. Come on. Regardless of whether it was a battle of wits or brawn, if he didn't defeat Jiang Feng today, his surname wouldn't be Li. Li Fan said again, Brother Jiang, you see, my chess skills are not good, and I can't compare with you. Why don't you let me have 3 chess pieces? Jiang Feng chuckled. Brother Li, you're too polite. My chess skills are not that good either. We're about the same, so there's no problem of letting you have a go. Li Fan muttered in his heart. Fuck, this Jiang Feng can be so shameless sometimes. How could he say something like that? What a joke. It's not good to be too shameless. Can't you be like me, clean, and cherish your dignity? Then I can let you have 1 chess piece. Li Fan thought of this and couldn't help but say, you see, I'm younger than you. You should let me have a go, right? How shameless. Jiang Feng wanted to scold him, but this Li Fan didn't have any shame. Brother Li is not much younger than me, and if I let you have a go, wouldn't it be disrespectful to you? We're all from the pugilistic world. Face is very important. It's not important, it's not important. Li Fan quickly waved his hand. I, Li Fan, don't have any other strengths, but I'm thick-skinned. Brother Jiang, let me have a go. I'm not letting you have a go. This time, Jiang Feng felt a little uncertain. Li Fan didn't say a single word, and he didn't know which one to listen to. Sigh, Brother Jiang is too heartless. I really don't understand chess. Li Fan said with a deadpan expression. I don't even know that the horse moves in the sun and the elephant moves in the field. Don't you think it's scary? Jiang Feng almost scolded out loud. This is called not knowing. I've already said it out loud. A duel should naturally be fair. Shui Wuxin interrupted and began to push Li Fan. Brother Li, asking my head escort to let you have a few chess pieces is no different than letting the opponent make 3 moves in a duel. Who can accept this? Sure, let's duel. Li Fan nodded and looked at Shui Wuxin in front of him. I can accept it. You're lying through your teeth. No, why don't you let your brother Jiang compete with me? I can let him make 3 moves first. These words made Jiang Feng gnash his teeth in anger. Shui Wuxin also frowned slightly. This Li Fan's words could make people vomit blood. Jiang Feng stopped Shui Wuxin and signaled her to stop talking. Brother Li, let's have a duel, shall we? Brother Jiang, please. Li Fan also didn't say anything and extended his hand. Jiang Feng vented all his pent-up anger on this chess piece. Red came first, then black. Not only did Jiang Feng not let go, he took the red chess piece and moved first. Jiang Feng started with the traditional cannon. The heavy Vulcan cannon moved slowly under Jiang Feng's control. This cannon weighed far more than a ton. Watching the cannon move slowly, the surrounding Jianghu people couldn't help but applaud. This Jiang Feng was indeed worthy of being the eldest disciple of Murong Bo. He was really powerful. His ability to use his true qi was not something that an ordinary person could use. Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and controlled the Vulcan cannon. There was no sweat on his forehead. Too powerful. A boxing master couldn't help but praise, indeed powerful. Of course, don't you see whose disciple he is? How can the outstanding disciple of Manor Lord Murong be ordinary? Exactly. This time Li Fan should know to retreat. Everyone was discussing, but Li Fan didn't care at all. He didn't even stretch out his hand and the warhorse flew up and moved to a defensive position. Everyone was stunned. Damn, what was going on? He didn't even stretch out his hand and used true energy to move the warhorse. This Li Fan, at such a young age, could already use true energy to this extent. This ability was really powerful. Brother Jiang, it's your turn again. Li Fan smiled at Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng frowned and moved the next chess piece. When it was Li Fan's turn to move the chess piece, he felt that it was a lot heavier, as if someone was pressing it. Li Fan glanced at Jiang Feng, who secretly stretched out his hand and smiled kindly at him. Chapter 8:27. Jiang Feng was playing dirty. Li Fan sneered. As expected of big brother Jiang, this was a familiar tactic. Jiang Feng didn't dare to attack openly, so he began to play in the dark. This was really Jiang Feng's personality. He had schemed against Li Fan countless times in the dark. This time, he was playing dirty again, stabbing him in the back. Li Fan controlled the chess piece while using his vital energy to resist Jiang Feng's control. Li Fan's vital energy was strong. Not only could he control the chess piece, but he could also suppress Jiang Feng's vital energy, causing Jiang Feng's expression to turn unsightly. What was going on? Why was his inner energy inferior to Li Fan's? Jiang Feng felt like he was wrestling with a man of great strength. He had no chance of winning. This Li Fan. After losing an arm last time, how did he become even stronger instead? Did this kid eat some kind of energy pill? His inner energy had increased to this level. Big brother Jiang, I'm done. It's your turn. Li Fan withstood the pressure that Jiang Feng gave him and forced himself to finish this move. Jiang Feng didn't say anything. He only made his move, then gave a look to the escorts behind Li Fan. These escorts didn't make a sound. They secretly extended their hands and used their vital energy and Jiang Feng's on the chess piece that Li Fan was about to lift. At least 8 or 9 escorts were using vital energy to resist Li Fan. This amount of vital energy was not a small amount. However, Li Fan was unmoved. With his own strength, he forcefully turned the situation around and used his vital energy to lift the chess piece. The escorts felt a sweetness in their mouths as they held back the blood that was about to gush out. Li Fan's inner energy was really strong. He already had the demeanor of a grandmaster. There were so many of them, but they couldn't even suppress Li Fan. Big brother Jiang, it's your turn again. After Li Fan finished moving his chess piece, he gestured for Jiang Feng to continue. Jiang Feng frowned slightly. Although this game of chess was a battle of words, it seemed that he was already at a disadvantage. Moreover, every time Li Fan watched him move the chess pieces, he did not use his means to deal with him. Was Li Fan mocking him? Jiang Feng was furious. He had to think of a way to suppress Li Fan. Otherwise, if he won, he would definitely go to heaven. He glanced at Shui Wuxin, who nodded. Shui Wuxin felt that doing this was against the morality of Jianghu. However, she felt that she should do this for the sake of her brother Jiang. All the darkness, let me bear it myself. Shui Wuxin stealthily took out a small silver sword from under his tongue. This small sword was only 1 inch long and 2 centimeters wide. It looked like a thick needle. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. This was Shui Wuxin's trump card. She had used this move to kill countless powerful opponents. At this time, Li Fan was focused on the battle of words with brother Jiang. He should not have noticed her little trick. Moreover, Shui Wuxin did not intend to kill Li Fan. Instead, she wanted to use her secret sword to attack Li Fan's acupuncture point. This would make Li Fan temporarily lose the ability to move and use his true qi. Naturally, he would lose to her brother Jiang. Shui Wuxin aimed her lips at Li Fan. She was ready to spit out the secret sword and seal his acupuncture point. She did not know how many years she had used this skill, so she had some understanding of it. While no one was paying attention, Shui Wuxin suddenly spat out the secret sword. This secret sword turned into a faint silver light and instantly pierced the acupuncture point on Li Fan's back. Li Fan did not seem to be on guard. Shui Wuxin secretly said in her heart, "Sorry, Li Fan, you asked for it." However, the moment the secret sword was about to pierce the acupuncture point, Li Fan's back suddenly emitted true qi. It formed an armor and directly blocked Shui Wuxin's secret sword. Shui Wuxin was shocked, and he couldn't believe his own eyes. He blocked it. How was this possible? Her secret sword had never failed before. Moreover, Li Fan was still competing with Brother Jiang in terms of internal energy. How could he have the ability to seal her secret sword? Humph! Li Fan suddenly snorted coldly. His body exploded with a circle of true qi. This true qi immediately spread out in all directions. The nearby tables and chairs were blown askew. Shui Wuxin was also blown back 2 steps. Her body hit the wall behind her. "Brother Jiang, you and I are both martial artists. You should know that martial arts are sacred." Li Fan's eyes became serious. He said to Jiang Feng, "If you go too far, don't blame me, Li Fan, for being impolite." "I don't understand what you are saying." Jiang Feng's expression did not change. He only waved his hand. "Everyone else, stand a little further away. Otherwise, Brother Li will be suspicious." The other escorts immediately stood a little further away. Even at this time, he only used this trick. Li Fan only wanted to sneer. But Jiang Feng could be heartless, but he couldn't be righteous. Li Fan was a standard martial artist. He had the most basic dignity of a martial artist. "Come, let us continue." Jiang Feng finally stopped scheming. Instead, he used his true qi to control the chess. Step by step, he played against Li Fan. Although Li Fan's true qi was very strong, his chess skills were still slightly inferior to Jiang Feng. The two of them played for more than an hour. Jiang Feng won one move against Li Fan. "Brother Li, it seems that I have won." Jiang Feng stood up and cupped his hands towards Li Fan. "Thank you for letting me win. Brother Jiang's chess skills are not bad. It seems that I have lost today." Li Fan stretched his body. "When I have time, I will come and play chess with you again. Although I have won chess, I have lost in martial arts." Jiang Feng did not know why, but he began to pretend to be low-key. In terms of internal energy, Brother Li is still better. Strong internal energy does not mean good martial arts. Li Fan said, and good martial arts does not necessarily mean good moral character. I feel that for us martial artists, what we should learn and cultivate the most should be our own character. Brother Jiang, don't you think so? With one sentence, he scolded both Jiang Feng and Murong. This Li Fan was ruthless enough. He looked low-key and humble, but in fact, he dared to provoke and talk back to anyone. That was why he was called Little Overlord. Brother Li's words are deep. I may not understand. Jiang Feng waved his hand. Let's treat this match as a draw. Since the Wen duel is over, I have already prepared some drinks in the banquet hall. Why don't we have a drink? What do you think? Jiang Feng asked. Li Fan laughed and waved his hand. Since we are neighbors, I will come to eat and drink again in the future. Today, I will not disturb you anymore. Once again, I wish Brother Jiang a prosperous business. I will visit another day. Li Fan came over to find out the bottom line of this Jiang Feng escort agency. Now that he had more or less found out, it was time for him to leave. Then I won't send you off. Jiang Feng watched Li Fan leave and felt relieved in his heart. This test, at least he had passed it. Chapter 828. Just like that, Tianxia Escort Agency opened for business. The struggle between the two agencies had just begun. Unlike Li Fan's extraordinary logistics, Tianxia Escort Agency's business was booming. Every day, an endless stream of people came to the agency. Heroes from all walks of life came to support them. In comparison, extraordinary logistics was deserted with almost no customers. Fortunately, there were still some normal orders, but not many. It was just a situation where they didn't lose money. Soon, the first snow fell, blanketing all of City A. It was a beautiful sight. Li Fan walked out of the school in a plain black tracksuit. Although it was a bit cold outside, it was no different from usual for Li Fan. He had a cold-resistant constitution and had true qi protecting his body. This bit of cold was nothing to him. When he entered Phenom Logistics building, he saw Big Dipper, Chen Junhua, and Yang Kai sitting around a square table. Every one of them behaved obediently like a group of children playing a game of dividing the fruits among themselves. Xia Hu and Yang Shuiyu walked out. One of them was wearing a red dress, while the other was wearing a green dress. Both of them were beautiful in their own way. Both girls were in charge of logistics, especially Yang Shuiyu. She seemed to feel uneasy about being an idler in the agency, so she took the initiative to help with logistics every day. Yang Shuiyu seemed to have a strange expression on her face due to Guan Wenbao's absence. She counted down the days on the calendar. Every day, when it was time to close the store, she would stand in front of the door and stare blankly at the street as if waiting for her husband to come. Yang Shuiyu was beautiful to begin with. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been coveted by the young master of the Fang family. A femme fatale would lead to a fatal disaster. This was the advantage of a beautiful woman, but also the fatal flaw. Miss Yang, why aren't you guarding the door today? Li Fan chuckled as he smelled Yang Shuiyu, teasing her on purpose. Yang Shuiyu rolled her eyes. Chief Escort, you're teasing me again. I just like to look at the scenery outside. Aya, there's nothing beautiful about this scenery. Xia Hu looked out the window. Especially the color of the sunset. It's not red enough compared to a certain someone. Aya, Sister Xia, you're making fun of me too. Yang Shuiyu seemed to be a little upset. You guys can't talk nonsense. In my heart, there's only Shiro. The dead are gone. You have to get over it as soon as possible. Xia Yi gently touched her hair. Such a beautiful girl, it's time to find a suitable family. I want to live here for a while. Yang Shuiyu touched the black ribbon on her arm. I don't want to talk about the relationship between a man and a woman for at least 2 years. It's up to you. After Li Fan finished speaking, he glanced at the few people sitting in front of the square table. What are you doing here? Don't you have work to do? Big brother, we haven't had any business for 8 days. Yang Kai curled his lips. What job? Then, let's count this month's income. I have to keep myself busy. What's the point if there's no income? I can't make ends meet again this month. Yang Kai shrugged and pointed across the street. A few pretty girls were standing in front of the opposite escort agency, flirting with each other, causing many customers to rush over there. Did you see? There used to be some worldly logistics business. But now, they're all attracted by the big girls and big thighs across. Those pretty girls are nothing. Li Fan patted Yang Kai's shoulder. No matter what, you're a handsome man. Go out and help me attract some female customers. Fuck, do I look like a gigolo? Yang Kai was instantly angered. Li Fan laughed and said straightforwardly, you indeed don't look like one. You're one from the start. Fuck. You're slandering me, a blatant slandering. This kind of thing. The prideful Yang Kai would never agree even if he was beaten to death. Li Fan was just joking, he didn't really intend to let Yang Kai do it. We'll talk about this later. By the way, why are you all crowding around here? Why do I smell something fragrant? Idiot, today is the winter solstice. Xia Yi coquettishly looked at Li Fan. How could you even forget this day? Shuiyu and I cooked some dumplings for everyone to try. Just treat it as a holiday. In a city, there was a traditional saying that if you don't eat dumplings on the winter solstice, your ears and nose will be frozen off. Therefore, Xia Yi and the others made dumplings to celebrate the winter solstice of their extraordinary escort agency. What's the filling? Hearing that they were going to eat dumplings, Li Fan was a little greedy. His parents were traveling around the world and hadn't returned yet. Not to mention dumplings, he hadn't even eaten a home-cooked meal yet. Pickled vegetables and pork. Just right, it's what I want to eat the most. Hearing that, Li Fan was immediately happy. He didn't stand on ceremony and sat down, waiting for the meal to be served. After a while, the steaming hot dumplings were served. A group of people surrounded them and began to eat heartily. Li Fan couldn't wait to eat a few dumplings and was a little surprised. Not bad, who made it? Li Fan asked. It doesn't look like little senior sister's cooking. Xia Yi's cooking was indeed not bad, but the taste was a little bland and sweet. Although the taste was also very good, for Li Fan who was born in the northeast, it was a little unsuitable. But this time, the dumplings had a moderate taste and were very popular with Li Fan. I made it, benefactor. Yang Shuiyu said a little shyly, I don't know if it suits your taste. Yes. Li Fan hurriedly clapped his hands. The taste is just right, it's not much different from little senior sisters. Li Fan was not stupid, he even praised Xia Yi. Aya, how long has it been since I ate such delicious dumplings? Unfortunately, I don't have the fortune of having a big brother, Yang Kai pointed out and said sourly, I have a good appetite today, I'll eat more. Let him fight with the monkeys in the deep forest for fruit. His words caused Yang Shui's eyes to drift out of the window, a little absent-minded. Xia Yi angrily slapped Yang Kai. Yang Kai didn't dare to say anything to Xia Yi and lowered his head to eat the dumplings. Dang, dang, dang. Just when the group was enjoying their winter solstice dumplings, someone knocked on the door of the escort agency. Li Fan and the rest opened the door and saw Shui Wuxin standing outside, holding an exquisite food box. I'm really sorry to disturb you. I'm here to give you some dumplings under the orders of my chief escort Jiang. Jiang Feng gave them dumplings? Yang Kai couldn't help but laugh. What's the saying again? What's it called, paying respects to the chicken? Hearing this, Shui Wuxin's face turned ugly. You're a guest, how can you say such words? Xia Yi looked at Yang Kai reproachfully. This guy's words were too unpleasant. Chapter 829. Shui Wuxin was a guest, but she wasn't. No one knew why she had come to visit with dumplings in her hands. Li Fan decided to ask her first. Thank you for your kindness, Brother Jiang, but you don't visit me for no reason. I'm sure heroine Shui wouldn't come for nothing on such a snowy day, right? Since you asked, there's no harm in me telling you. Shui Wuxin said, today is the winter solstice. My head escort wants me to ask you if you want to attend the escort conference. Escort conference? When Li Fan heard this name, he wanted to laugh. Why did this name sound so annoying? The escort conference is also known as the Golden Darts Conference. It's only held on the winter solstice. On this day, all the escorts in the world will gather here for the Golden Darts Conference. You came to City A? Li Fan was a little surprised. Yes. Shui Wuxin nodded. The most powerful escort in the world back then, Old Master Jin. After he retired, he returned to his hometown in City A and built a manor in a small town below City A. Every year, the pugilistic world will hold a Golden Darts Conference and gather at Old Master Jin's house to select this year's Golden Darts Conference. The Golden Darts Conference has the privilege of traveling the world. No matter where you go, everyone in the pugilistic world will help you. Was the Golden Darts Conference that awesome? Li Fan raised his eyebrows and looked at Shui Wuxin. He knew nothing about the Golden Darts Conference and the Golden Darts Conference. Moreover, the people in the agency were not professional escorts. They were all half-baked, so they didn't know much about these things. And yet, Jiang Feng had actually sent someone over to inform him of this matter. This was something that was truly perplexing. What good would it do for Jiang Feng to tell Li Fan about it? Li Fan really couldn't figure it out. Sure, let's go. Xia, who tugged at the corner of Li Fan's clothes from behind and said on his behalf, please thank head escort Jiang for us. Yang Shuiyu walked over and took the lunchbox from him politely. Thank you. You're welcome. We're all neighbors. Our head escort also hopes that Feifen can live a better life. These words were said with such sincerity that Li Fan almost believed it himself. Our chief escort has already prepared a carriage. Chief escort Li, would you like to go with us? Sure, let's go together. Li Fan wiped his mouth and stood up. Junwo, come with me. Yang Kai, Mr. Big Dipper, I'll have to trouble you to look after the house this time. It's nothing. Big Dipper gave Li Fan a reassuring look. Go get busy. Make sure you get this gold medal escort to Fafen this year. There are many experts in the world, and I, Li Fan, am just one of them. However, I will do my best. Li Fan cupped his hands at Big Dipper. But we definitely won't embarrass our agency. All right, I'll accompany you. Chen Junhua put the door-sized sword back on his back. Although Chen Junhua was obsessed with the sword Dao, he also attached great importance to his appearance. Every time he met someone, he had to dress himself up to look spirited. Chen Junhua had a crew cut and wore a black robe with arrow sleeves. With the sword on his back, he stood tall and handsome. The carriage is at the door. This way, please. Shui Wuxin extended his hand to invite Li Fan. Li Fan nodded, put on a navy coat, and walked out with Chen Junhua. A white Iveco was already parked outside. Jiang Feng sat inside and looked at Li Fan enthusiastically. Brother Li, I knew you'd come. Jiang Feng's face was full of smiles, looking harmless to humans and animals. If Brother Li wasn't here today, the Golden Darts convention wouldn't be exciting. Big Brother Jiang, you're too polite. Li Fan looked at Jiang Feng, who was sitting opposite him. I'm so ignorant. I have to thank Brother Jiang for reminding me. Sigh, there's no need to be so polite with me. We're all escorts and neighbors. I'll definitely take care of you when I need to. We're all chased out of Murong's house. We're like brothers outside, don't you think so? Speaking of which, Big Brother Jiang, are you really willing to listen to Murong's orders? Li Fan suddenly asked, and Jiang Feng was taken aback. However, Jiang Feng was not an ordinary person. He reacted quickly. Although I'm chased out of the sect, a teacher for a day is a father for life. Regardless of whether I'm at Murong's house or not, I'll still respect Master. Is that so? Li Fan didn't say anything else. Jiang Feng's words sounded nice, but he understood it very well. There was a flash of hatred in this brother's eyes when he looked at Murong's blog. He was the only one who saw this scene when he opened his true eye. No one else noticed it at all. If younger brother Li can become a gold medal escort, please take care of our small escort agency in the future. There are many talents in the pugilistic world. It's not my turn yet. Li Fan was very humble when he was humble, but he was arrogant when he was arrogant. It could be said that he had two personalities. Younger brother Li's martial arts are already enough to dominate the world. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan and asked, "How can that be? There's always someone better than you." Li Fan shook his head. Big brother Jiang, there's no need to be so polite. Isn't your unity of mind and demon also unrivaled in the world? In this world, there are three people with the strongest talents in the pugilistic world. One is you, younger brother Li, who has the abnormal bone-changing technique. The other is me, who has the unity of mind and demon. And the strongest person is Murong Ying, who has the greatest advantage among the three talents, turning nothingness into reality. As he spoke, Jiang Feng looked Li Fan up and down. But from what I see, you seem to have awakened some of the power of turning nothingness into reality recently, and you're also proficient in the ability of some inner demons. In this way, Li Fan, you have the three major talents and have the 5 flowers in bloom. Tell me, who in this world can be your opponent? Big brother Jiang, you must be joking. Li Fan denied flatly. The abnormal bone-changing technique is indeed my talent, but I only have a slight understanding of the unity of mind and demon and turning nothingness into reality. I can't be compared to you and Murong Ying at all. There's no point in putting me on such a pedestal. Why don't we talk about something important? What do you think? What is it? Why don't we sit down and talk about how to deal with Murong Villa together? What do you think? I've never had such thoughts. Jiang Feng hurriedly shook his head. You'd better not have them either. Anyway, I've said what I want to say. Li Fan stretched lazily. Whether you do it or not, it's your business. I'm just curious. Jiang Feng's eyes flashed. Little Overlord Li Fan, why would you choose to ally with me? Chapter 830. When Huang Lei opened his eyes, he realized that his surroundings were damp and dark. He seemed to be locked in a small warehouse, which was filled with stinky fish and shrimps, and the smell was very unpleasant. Damn it, where am I? Huang Lei smelled a fishy smell at the corner of his mouth, and it was obvious that he was bleeding. He licked his lips, and with his swollen and painful head, he recalled what happened earlier. He was driving a car on the mountain road with the woman he won from the rich second generation. In the end, he was blocked by a truck halfway. Then, four brawny men wearing black jackets and white masks jumped out of the truck. They came up to him and started beating him up. Although he had trained his body in the security agency, Huang Lei's body was almost hollowed out by the wine and women. After breaking the chin of a strong man with great difficulty, Huang Lei was knocked down by a few people, and was beaten up. When he woke up, he was already here. Although Huang Lei was a bit lazy, he was not a fool. Someone must have set a trap for him. Where did that girl go? Damn it, my face really hurts. Huang Lei was in so much pain that he grimaced, and at this time, a loudspeaker in the warehouse suddenly sounded. After a burst of ear-piercing noise, a synthesized voice came out. Tell me, where is the gold? Huang Lei did not say anything, and the synthesized voice continued to ask. Tell me, where is the gold, and you will suffer less. Fuck you, who do you think your master Lei is? Huang Lei directly cursed, using tricks to lock your master Lei here, just to take some gold and silver from your master Lei's house? Let me tell you, that bit of gold is your master Lei's coffin. Don't even think of taking a single cent. Just as he finished speaking, a strong electric current suddenly came from the chair. This electric current was so strong that it was like a sharp knife, tearing Huang Lei's body from the inside, and he screamed in pain, tears and mucus flowed. If you don't tell the truth, you will suffer. The synthesized voice reminded Huang Lei, the human heart can only withstand a limited amount of electricity. Once the load is exceeded, your heart will stop. At that time, no matter how much money you have, you won't be able to spend it. Fuck your father. Saliva mixed with blood dripped from the corner of Huang Lei's mouth, but he continued to curse. If you have the guts, come out and fight. Hide, don't pretend to be a grandson, come out. See if daddy won't fuck your stupid mouth until it's rotten. You don't learn from your mistakes. The electric current struck Huang Lei's body again, causing Huang Lei to lose control of his bladder. I want to see how long a nobody like you can last. The moonlight rose, and the night-shrouded city a Big Brother Jiang, although I don't really like your personality, but I know that you're a good person. But among the young heroes of the world, you are indeed outstanding among those who are skilled in both literature and martial arts. You flatter me. This is just one of them. In the Iveco, Li Fan and Jiang Feng sat face to face, continuing the previous topic. The most important thing is your hatred for Murong. Li Fan's words made Jiang Feng sneer. Brother Li, don't try to test me with these words. I have said, a teacher for a day is a father for life. I will not betray my master. Let's put it this way, I have no parents since I was a child. Thanks to my master who adopted me, I have a foothold. Master didn't mind my lowly background, accepted me as a disciple, regarded me as his own, and even taught me martial arts. How can I repay this kindness of raising me with a wolf's ambition? Jiang Feng's words were impeccable, beautiful as hell. But Li Fan smiled and said slowly, why don't we talk about Jiang Yi? As soon as the name Jiang Yi came out, Jiang Feng's brows wrinkled deeply, but soon relaxed. Who is this? I have never heard of him. Brother Jiang, there are only 5 people in this car. Apart from the driver, there are you, me, Water Heroine, and Chen Junhua. The driver is your trusted aide, and Water Heroine has everything planned out for you. As for Chen Junhua and I, we aren't gossipy people, so what can't we say? Or do you think that I will use our words to please Murong? Jiang Feng's eyes rolled twice, but he still didn't say anything. Jiang Yi used to be the son of Jiang Shuetian, the elder of the cult. Talking about this elder of the evil cult, it would probably be another novel biography. He used to be Li Wei's mentor and was a famous villain in the martial arts world. After that, he fought with Murongbo for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, he was defeated by Murongbo and ended up with his family ruined. Jiang Feng was expressionless when Li Fan said those words. I heard that Jiang Shuetian's wife also hanged herself together with her husband, leaving behind Jiang Yi in his swaddling clothes. I don't know if he's dead or alive. Jiang Feng clenched his fists slightly and listened to Li Fan. Everyone in the Jianghu is saying that Jiang Shuetian isn't a good person. His wife is an enchantress, so it's only natural that his sons won't be good people either. They'll all be little devils in the future. If they die, then so be it. Bullshit. Jiang Feng finally couldn't help but holler. Shui Wuxin hurriedly reached out and gently stroked the back of Jiang Feng's hand in a bid to comfort him, but Jiang Feng pushed her away angrily. However, Jiang Feng's rage only lasted for a few seconds before he immediately retracted it. I'm sorry. I lost my composure, Jiang Feng said. It's just that my family was also persecuted by this villain Jiang Shuetian back then. I can't control my emotions when I hear his name again. It's okay, brother Jiang, you have us here now. Shui Wuxin continued to comfort Jiang Feng gently. Jiang Feng nodded and said, so, Brother Li, what you want to say is not important to me. I just want to run the World Escort Agency well for the sake of us escorts. Hence, the life and death of Jiang Yi has nothing to do with me. Is that so? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. I originally found out about Jiang Yi's whereabouts, but since Brother Jiang isn't interested, then forget it. Li Fan didn't lie. He did find out about Jiang Yi's information from the Phoenix King. Because he was going to have a falling out with Jiang Feng, Li Fan used an expensive price to trade this information with the Phoenix King with the principle of knowing oneself and knowing the enemy. He didn't expect that the value of the information would be so shocking. However, Jiang Feng didn't seem to be moved. Brother Li, my master has been very kind to me, so you don't have to say these useless things. Why don't we talk about something important, like tonight's Golden Darts conference? Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan without any emotion in his eyes. Chapter 831. Huang Lei didn't know how many times he had been electrocuted, but he was already on the verge of death. His body was scorched black, black smoke was coming out of his mouth, his pants were wet, and he had already lost control of his bladder. The stench spread throughout the small warehouse. Huang Lei didn't even have the strength to speak. His whole body was in a tearing pain. The pain was so severe that he fainted several times. But just as he fainted, a water gun sprayed water on Huang Lei's face, waking him up. After waking up, the electric current continued to destroy Huang Lei's nerves. This process went on for who knows how many times, but besides cursing, Huang Lei didn't utter a single word. I have to say, I underestimated you. The synthetic voice slowly said, I thought you were just an insignificant nobody, the weakness of Li Fan, the breakthrough point. I didn't expect you to have such backbone, to actually hold on until now. Huang Lei weakly smiled and spat out a mouthful of bloody phlegm. If you have the guts, come out, your Grandpa Lei will let you know. Your Grandpa Lei is hard, not only his bones, I don't understand. The synthetic voice was a bit confused. You're obviously an insignificant little punk. Following Li Fan, you don't have any achievements, you're just trying to make a living. A scumbag like you, a little punk, how could you have this kind of backbone? Tell me honestly, and not only can I spare your life, I can even allow you to live in luxury and enjoy the rest of your life. Why not? Ha, ha ha, Huang Lei licked his lips, you're right. Grandpa Lei is a little punk, but I can still make you suffer. Come out. I'll help you lick Grandpa Lei's pants, clean, reckless. The synthetic voice seemed to finally be a bit angry. You're really courting death. The electric current hit Huang Lei's body again. Huang Lei twitched. White foam flowed out from the corner of his mouth. When Huang Lei was being electrocuted, Li Fan and Jiang Feng had already driven to Victory Village under City A. Although this Victory Village was just an ordinary small town, it was famous in Jianghu because it produced a gold medal armed escort. Jin Tong left Victory Village when he was 12 years old. Then, he became a disciple of Shaolin Temple and learned Shaolin Kung Fu. After that, he went down the mountain and established the Jin Family Escort Agency. Slowly, it became the #1 escort agency in the world. However, Jin Tong was too busy working hard in his career when he was young. It was not until he was 40 years old that he married a beautiful woman and had a son named Jin Ju. As the saying goes, a tiger father will not beget a dog son. Jin Ju had thoroughly mastered the Jin family's fist technique passed down by his father and was regarded as a future golden escort. Jin Tong also had high hopes for his son. He planned to take advantage of this gold darts convention to find a suitable wife for his son. He couldn't allow his son to have a child at such an old age. When Li Fan and Jiang Feng arrived at Victory Village, there were already many cars parked there. Many people from the pugilistic world had come to participate in the conference. In the pugilistic world, there were many escort agencies. The big escort agencies were divided into 4 big escort agencies and 8 small escort agencies. The 4 big escort agencies were famous in the world. They were Dragon Emperor Escort Agency, Jin Family Escort Agency, Wind Cloud Escort Agency, and God of Fortune Escort Agency. The 8 small escort agencies were the up-and-coming escort agencies that were slightly inferior to the 4 big escort agencies. Among them were Extraordinary Escort Agency and World Escort Agency. Other than that, there were countless escort agencies of all sizes in the pugilistic world. There were hundreds and thousands of them. No matter which escort agency it was, they all wanted to show off their skills in the Gold Darts Convention and show off their strongest skills. Many clients would also come to the Gold Darts Convention. They also wanted to see which escort agency was the strongest and which one was worthy of their trust. Li Fan and Jiang Feng stood in front of the Jin family village. Looking at the antique mansion, they couldn't help but feel a little surprised. In the pugilistic world, many famous families liked this kind of ancient Chinese architecture. Speaking of which, this kind of courtyard was more in line with the feng shui layout. This should be one of the reasons. Let's fight the escort flags. Li Fan said, don't let down your aura. Seeing that there were many people from other escort agencies, Li Fan naturally didn't want to be at a disadvantage. He waved his hand and Chen Junhua immediately held the escort agency's flag in his hand. The escort flag was designed by Lin Yuhin. On the black escort flag, there were huge golden words, extraordinary. The escort flag represented the identity of an escort agency. In the process of transporting escorts, unless it was a hidden escort, the escort flag must be raised high. The escort flag was there, the flag was there, and the person was there. This was the dignity of an escort agency. Shui Wuxin also raised the escort flag of World Escort Agency. The 2 escorts stood there and raised the escort flag, which immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Now, Extraordinary Escort Agency and World Escort Agency were both famous for their 8 small escort agencies. However, weren't these 2 agencies enemies? Why would they appear together? The surrounding people's gazes fell on them. Very soon, the Jin family's people came out to receive them. The servant who led them in. The manor was rather spacious with mountains and rivers. The layout was good and the feng shui was good. As Li Fan walked into the courtyard, he saw many escorts walking in as well. There were tall and short escorts, fat and skinny. Some had bulging temples. One look and one could tell that they were internal energy experts. Some had weak footsteps. It was obvious that their internal energy was lacking. After all, this was an open golden escort conference. All the escort agencies in the country would send people. Therefore, it wasn't surprising that there were different levels of strength. Move aside. When Li Fan stopped to observe, he heard a cold reprimand behind him. Li Fan turned to look. 2 men in golden escort uniforms walked over with steady steps. The road is facing the sky. Let's go our separate ways. Chen Junhua frowned and glared at the two escorts. Must you walk over us? A good dog doesn't block the way. The man walking in front had a scar at the corner of his eye. It was obvious that he had been injured in his early years. However, his eyes were sharp. His temples were bulging. He was obviously an expert. As for the other escort, he carried a golden escort flag with the words Dragon Emperor on his back. It was clear who they were. Dragon Emperor Escort Agency, who are you talking about? Chen Junhua had been spoiled in Mount Hua since he was young. He had never been bullied like this. How dare an escort agency be so presumptuous? No matter how big an escort agency was, it couldn't go against a famous sect like Mount Hua. The huge sword on Chen Junhua's back started to move. I'm talking to you. Get lost. The man with scarred eyes scolded mercilessly. Chen Junhua couldn't stand it anymore. However, Li Fan reached out and pulled him back. Forget it. Let them pass. They had just arrived at another agency's territory. They had to show some respect to the escorts here. Chen Junhua retracted his sword aura. The scarred man sneered. Extraordinary escort agency. What the hell? After that, he left with his companions. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.